What's going on, motherfuckers? Welcome to the Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. My name is Knackers, and today is Sunday, June 28th, 2020, and this is episode number 121. Tonight with me, as always, we have the beautiful and brand new bedroom, MiddleAgedStream. How you doing today, buddy?
What's crack-a-lagging?
Hey, it's good to see you, man. And another new bedroom fella as well, and new fucking haircut. Holy shit, BishopGP. What's going on, dude?
What's up, boys? How's it going, man?
I don't like the way that any of this looks. This is all new.
It's weird, right?
Bishop's in a new room. He's got a new haircut. Jimmy's spun around. There's all these colors flashing. I should have changed my camera angle.
There's a dog in the bed.
And there's a dog. That's right.
Han.
Hey,
What kind of dog is he?
He is a yellow lab.
A lab. Okay. Our first. Oh my God, another dog.
Oh yeah, Ruby. Hi, Ruby.
She always looked like she's about to fall asleep.
I think that's because she is.
Yeah.
You know, I put I thought that you were gonna have Casey stream up on your camera for a little bit longer, so I put your name tag as Bishop featuring Casey Rue. What was she making?
I think she was making. Hold on. Wait. She was making some mini pies, and then I think like something like a hot wing sliders or something like that.
Oh baby! Speaking of. What's going on, Casey? Bishop had your stream up for a second, and we were watching the Hot Pies! Mini peach whiskey
she's
pie.
offline now. She's hosting this channel. I was so confused because I was like, I didn't think that I had your stream up, Knackers. I was trying to find it so I could pull it back up. Yeah. It's, she just hosted. Okay. I know what's happening now. I just caught up.
It's fantastic to see all of you. Thank you very much for stopping by and saying hello. It has been 5 weeks since we have had a Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. And within that time period, unfortunately, I missed the 4-year anniversary of the Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. And in the back of my mind, and out of all things considered, this is the least important thing in the world right now.
Yeah.
But I had a special stream idea. I had a video compilation idea. I was like, gonna make an event of it. And then it passed. Like by 2 weeks, I missed it. And I went, motherfucker. And so now we're here. Happy 4-year anniversary.
Happy 4 years. Hooray.
We did it. Without me, it would have been possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
If only you people could see what this show looked like its first year, even its second year. I mean, it's so different in so many ways, graphically, host-wise, content, and I don't want to use the word professionalism because I think we still lack a lot of that, but I think quality, like as our professionalism, as our professionalism has gone down, our quality has gone up. And I don't really know how that's possible, but that's just how it's going to be. But yeah, it's been motherfucking 4 years of doing this podcast. I started this in 2016 with 4 other hosts. And I can say without a doubt that the show now is my favorite part, like is the favorite version of the show. There's been many versions. There's been many revisions. And while I've loved every period of the podcast, what the podcast is right now, what it represents, the conversations that we have, and how I feel afterwards, it's really an amazing show to be a part of. So thank you both for being a part of it and helping me along.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Fucking cheers, mates!
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Brothers.
Let's
I gotta
cheers.
open them up right here. Casey got me something. It's called a wild. She got this at I think Whole Foods last time she was there, and it's a Arthur Mead Co. draft mead. Wildflower semi-dry. I don't know if you guys can see that. Wait, come back.
That was a name.
Yeah, it's a long. I just read every word that was on the container. To be completely honest,
It probably cost a lot to print that on the can.
Yeah,
Seriously.
lots of words.
They charged by the letter.
You know, there's a couple of beers I've gotten recently, this one included, where it's aluminum and then like a vinyl wrap around the outside. And it always makes me feel like the beer is going to be warm because the temperature of the liquid on the inside isn't transferring to the outside. So I always grab it. I'm like, oh shit, is my fridge dying? And then I bust it open. I take a sip and it's all good. But a lot like artisans, a lot of microbrews are doing that. I've noticed a lot of sours do that type of, and I don't know if that's science. I got a mustache going up my nose. Oh, okay, we're good. And it's good to see that Jimbo still got the mustache, and man, it's good to see you guys.
Man, I feel, I hate to say it, but I feel like the longer this podcast goes on, the more we start to amalgamate and start to look like each other. I have
We're
Jimmy's
like
hair.
Voltron, man. We're just
Yeah.
slowly coming together.
becoming one
Yeah.
being. I was gonna shave it really short. I was just getting so tired of having like long hair. I'll let it grow back out, but like this is probably the shortest my hair has ever been, and it just feels refreshing. Everyone has COVID hair right now, and I'm just like,
Yes.
I don't know if the risk of going to the hair cutter, the barber, is worth it.
The hair cutter. Did you go get it cut, or did Casey cut it?
I just did it in that bathroom back there. So this is the same room I used to be in. I just moved. I used to be right here, and then now I'm facing outwards, out that really bright window.
It looks like you're not even in the same room. What was the reason for the switch?
I wasn't utilizing that space very well. Not only that, but later on. So basically, like, there's the way that this room works is that there's a door in the middle of this wall. On this wall right here, which is usually that doorway that I walked behind when I hid behind the blinds in the last podcast. That's that doorway. And then there's a closet. So there's literally only this wall that has any utility to it at all. So I was having a really hard time like making a decision of how to utilize the space. And I was like, why don't I just put my desk up against the window? And I'm actually happy that I did, because it freed up all the space. And then what I'm going to do back here is I'm going to put a racing sim in. So,
oh fuck,
yeah, it'll be pretty dope. It's not perfect for streaming, and I set up my camera literally like 10 seconds before we started the stream.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I went from a Reddit meme to just an average Joe.
Seriously, yeah.
I really downgraded.
Hey, fill the void, fill the air, because there is a document that I forgot to prepare.
Hey, yeah,
Well,
speaking about average Joes, Jimmy, how are you? How's it?
That's a good segue, you son of a bitch. Speaking of offices, so I redid mine. I actually took 2 entire days. The first day, I moved my desk and unplugged my computer, all monitors, accessories, all that stuff. Took it all off the desk, moved the desk to the other part of the room, and then I had to clean everything down, wipe all the monitors, the cords, reconnect everything, and then plug it all in to make sure it worked. And you know what? I got everything in the first try, every single cord except a couple of USB ports that I had to switch so it, for power purposes. But other than that, it was perfect. And I was so proud of myself because this is the most I've ever had to configure.
Is this the same room altogether, or is it a different room?
It's the same room.
Okay, wait. So if you pointed out, where was your stuff before? Was it just
my desk used to be where this bed is right here, like in the middle of the room, kind of in the middle of the room. And there's another wall where I'm pointing right over here.
Yeah, I recognize the, is that Morrowind or Skyrim? On
Skyrim.
The wall? Yeah, Skyrim map.
So I was further back, but now I'm, where I'm facing right now, it's the corner of the room. Yeah. And it's just, it's a lot. Yeah, that's Han. Yes. Getting a little scratch. But no, it's nice. It's nice having a lot more usable space. The only reason I had it that way to begin with was I was trying to, back when I was using a cam, I wanted to have a wall behind me. But honestly now, obviously that doesn't, apply. So it's a lot more efficient space use.
Yeah, the same thing kind of happened with me. Like Casey and I were looking at either moving to a new apartment, just going somewhere new, or just like finding a way to reutilize the space, because we have a 2-bedroom. I'm in the second bedroom, but this bedroom is literally like I mentioned, it's pretty much completely useless unless you use it by putting a bed right here. And that's like the only thing that is, because every other wall is pretty much used, right? Like one's split into 2 windows. So
right.
I had it initially set up like we just kind of whatever worked and whatever was easy, because Casey and I had initially planned on streaming in the same room together, where we would have a big long desk right here, and then I would enter from the bathroom side, she would enter from this side, and we would be on either side. But I guess I was too loud for that, and it ended up just being kind of a waste of space. So yeah, it's interesting, like just reusing space that you've been in. Now we've been here for 2 years. So now like trying to look at the space in a different way. It's challenging, right? Like just trying to figure out like where we could put different stuff. And one of our ideas was just to throw the bed into the kitchen and put it like behind a wall in the kitchen, and then use the bedroom as a space for Casey. So yeah, it's a tough decision. Do you find yourself with more outlets now, Jimmy?
I find myself laughing because it looks like my dog's licking his balls right now.
He's having a good time, man.
Hold on, let me move my head. Is that better?
TOS.
Is that better?
TOS.
TOS. Han, cut that out. What are you doing? It's disgusting.
That's and I know that you're in an apartment, and I'm in a house that's like super, super old. So the only way that I've been able to rectify like space issues is by building up. So like in my office, like you see, like I started stacking the computer upwards. Like in the kitchen, I started filling every wall with shelves that we could stack things. It's just about like trying to find storage. But I know in an apartment, especially like a newer apartment, you can't just go drilling all the time. You know, you can be the best drywall repairman, but there's still a chance that you might do some damage you're not qualified to fix afterwards.
That's true. That is true.
But true. Yeah, that's how many square feet is your apartment?
Mine, I think it's like just over 1,000, I think.
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not tiny. It's just the utilization, I guess, of the space in general is really stupid. And then because we're in like an all concrete building, we have like these big concrete pillars that like cut in the middle of the room. So if we wanted to like slam something up against the wall or have like a space, it's kind of intruded by like this pillar that's just in the middle of the space.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a bit strange, but I think with a little bit of creativity, Casey and I can make it work for different stuff, because we're both getting into other stuff. I don't prioritize streaming obviously as much as I used to, but
right.
I've been doing a lot of casting and commentary, so and work obviously whenever I.
Well, how come I haven't seen any links to any like of the casting that you're doing?
I tend to tweet it. I don't know why. I think it's just because maybe it's because it's a link. I just don't. I don't promote it very well. I'm just kind of lazy. Yeah, it really comes down to like me just not doing the promotional stuff. But yeah, just every Sunday I cast the Skip Barber E-Race series on YouTube. So
no shit. Okay, all right. You'll have to. That's something that you should shout out at the end of the podcast so people can watch. Man, what the fuck? That's what this is
doing. By the way, guys, my name's BishopGP. I happen to do this really cool thing that maybe, come by if you want, don't if you don't,
Yeah, it's weird because like I got like I started casting or doing commentary.
Sorry, I just every time you say casting, I'm just imagining you with a wand, like just going like this.
I went to Hogwarts for a 3-year program. Learned nothing. Learned Flipendo, which apparently is only in the video games and not in the book. So,
which I actually just found out recently. But yeah,
I also tried running full speed into a closet door and gave myself a black eye.
I don't feel like I'm like a commentator. I feel like it's not my thing. I used to just commentate whenever I die in Fortnite and I'd have better players. And instead of like just sitting on stream for 40 minutes while they finish the game, I wanted something to do. And then I've always been involved in motorsports to some extent. And we've been producing for like the past X amount of months pre-COVID. We've been producing a bunch of esports, motorsports racing events while COVID's been going on. So I was a producer doing like the OBS switching and all of the production management and all that. And then for this recent event, they were like, hey, we don't have a commentator. And for one of the events previous, I had to step in because the commentators were kind of lacking. They were just like, oh yeah, he's going through the corner there. That's pretty good. I was just like, oh god, this is so awkward. This is so bad. So I stepped in, and now I have that as my job as well. So it's I'm not like super proud of it, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. In hindsight, it's pretty cool.
And getting some experience on that end as well.
Yeah, it's cool to like break down. It's kind of like this podcast. Breaking down like how I communicate and listening to it back helps me develop as a communicator.
Absolutely.
And one thing I've been working on is trying not to say as much. And in the first commentary that I did for this Skip Barber E-Race series, I was literally like,
yeah. Getting rid of
How
ums
much
is
the cars were
hard.
going by.
Any crutch words, because you'll find that you'll get rid of a crutch word and then it'll be replaced by another word that you'll find that you'll repeat a whole lot.
Mhm.
And maybe just in one particular conversation, there's some sort of phrase or something you pick up on and you repeat it over and over for whatever reason in that frame of time. And you listen to it back later and you're like, why was I so hung up on saying, and therefore?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aforementioned.
Some simple turn of a phrase or something that you would repeat.
Yep.
I
That
say, as I said earlier, if I think that I'm going to reiterate something, I found that I say, as I said earlier, as I mentioned earlier. It's like, of course they know that, but like, there's going to be new people coming in. Maybe that's not worth stating.
Yeah.
Those crutches are.
I used to say basically a lot, like way too much.
In other words,
Yeah, in other words, basically, for all intents and purposes.
In light of the current situation,
As I just said 30 seconds ago.
It's tough, like getting good at something that you don't like. If I'm passionate about something, I'll do a bunch of research. But like, sure, I enjoy commentating. People, I guess people like my commentary every now and then. I guess I haven't heard the negative side yet, but that'll come. I guess. I guess. You know. But
right.
It'll be interesting as I dive more into it to see how fucking bad I am at it. Like, just technically, how many things I'm doing wrong. So.
Yeah, when you watch, actually just the other day, I was watching one of John Oliver's videos on YouTube. And obviously, there's practice and there's pre-recording. He will go minutes of speaking without skipping a beat. He will say things perfectly. He will, like, his comedic timing is perfect. I'm like, how the hell does he do that? And
Prompter.
Yeah, but even in my limited use with my teleprompter at home, it's still kind of difficult. And I'm sure that gets better with time, obviously. But man, I've always been so impressed. And then you see somebody like Golden Boy or Dr. Lupo get up in front of a camera, and Dr. Lupo is just a natural. I think with a microphone, he has the wit, he's got the wisdom, and you're like, man, that is definitely. You know, you're not sure if it's an attainable goal or not. But when I go back and I look at my very, very early podcast, my flow, my enunciation, my speaking patterns, I have changed so much. And a little bit of that is doing research and trying to learn different strategies with having conversations with people. But a lot of that is just practice. And it's just doing it over and over and over and over again. So if that is something that anybody that's listening that is looking on improving, all you got to do is win, no matter what.
Money on the mind. Right.
What are you drinking tonight, Bish?
Like I mentioned earlier, as I stated earlier, it's Arthur Mead Co. Draft Mead, and it's flavor. The flavor is wildflower semi-dry, crisp and refreshing. I don't know if that's part of the flavor.
It might be.
It's very good. It's honestly like if you know, like really milky honey tea. You know, like tea that's filled with milk and honey. It's like that, but a beer instead of tea. If that makes sense. You
just brought up something that made me so angry. So
already, okay.
Pre-COVID, we went and got bubble tea, and they were out of tapioca. Post-COVID, went back, out of tapioca the first time. Second time, got it again. They had tapioca, but they forgot to add sufficient flavoring into the drink. I have had fucked up bubble tea 3 times in a row. And okay, we were walking up to the counter and I said, Weenie, if they don't have tapioca, I'm making a scene. Like, I preemptively said that because I knew there was such a good chance that we were going to get up there and they weren't going to have it. And of course I order, and she looks back and she looks at Mr. Tapioca, who's scooping it around, and I can see tapioca in the container. And then she moves my cup, and she looks at the other guy and she goes, "Wait, we don't have tapioca?" And I just said, "No tapioca?" She's like, "No, okay, I'm sorry, sir. We have a little bit left." And I was so psyched, and I got my drink and I took a sip, and it was blue, as in blue raspberry, but it tasted like nothing. I was so fucking angry. But you know, that's
you're just bitching is basically
yes, first world problem, extreme bitching. But you know, like $6 for a fucking bubble tea and it's fucked up 3 times in a row.
Yeah. It's like going to Starbucks. Sometimes you order some like special drink and it's great the first time. And you're like, fuck yeah. And then you try it again and you're like, man, this really sucks. And you just keep going back and they can't get it right. I feel you there. That's it's a really tough thing to get through, you know? It's really
thank you for recognizing it and sympathizing with me.
I'm sympathizing with you because it is just a tough thing, you know?
They can't for their life blend down the biggest ice cubes in their frappuccinos. I can't tell you how many times I go to take a sip, ice cube stuck in my straw. Give me a bigger fucking straw then.
No, but they kill sharks and seals and shit. So you have to ask for them now. Otherwise, imagine if they had 2 straws this big that actually worked. How much environmental impact that would have?
That's true.
You would be blasted on Twitter. People see you drinking the straw like, and they'd be like, hey, do you know how bad that is for the environment, my guy?
I'm surprised that there hasn't been somebody like protesting straws in a Starbucks. Like, you know what those things do?
I think if you're interested, you could probably find some videos of some people getting crazy. You know
Definitely.
what I mean?
Check out the hashtag Karen on Twitter lately.
Yup.
Jimbo,
There's some good stuff in there.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking some Bullet Bourbon whiskey on the rocks, and I've got a Shiner Ruby Redbird as well.
Yeah, Shiner.
Yeah.
What's Shiner?
Fruit beer, man. No, it's good.
I have. This has actually been one of my favorites lately. This is a Guava Gosei. Ale brewed with guava, coriander, and Himalayan salt. I have found quite a few sours lately that have all had an accent of sea salt or Himalayan salt, or at least they describe it on the can. Not many beers that I've come across recently that just say, yeah, we have salt in our beer. But everyone that I've had recently has been really, really awesome. This one's really good. I also got one of my all-time favorites, the Still Wild Sour series. Any of these are so good.
They're
so
all good.
I will probably indulge in that next.
It's nice, man.
Okie dokie.
Nice beer, dude. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, you guys got your waiters, because we're about to be wading into some friggin' deep shit right now.
I got
Get your waiters on.
Yeah.
Before we get into like the meat and potatoes, I do want to talk about what video games we've been playing recently. But I want everybody to realize that we are 3 white dudes on a podcast, okay? Our experiences and perspectives at times might not be in line with yours, and I understand that these are all incredibly difficult topics to talk about. They're very sensitive. They're important, so that's why we want to talk about them. But please, realize that we are just 3 dudes who are also trying to find our way and be the best people that we can be. And the reason why we do these podcasts, or at least a reason that I know I do these podcasts, is because I want to have these hard conversations with the people that I respect and be able to have good discourse back and forth and learn something from other people. So the things that we say might not be 100% right. Our opinions might be off, but just know that we are 3 people that are trying to learn. And us being 3 white dudes, out of the grand scheme of things, we have had the path of least resistance. So again, a lot of this is not due to arrogance. It's more so ignorance. And, we haven't experienced a lot of the things that these people have. So, please just keep that in mind. We are not out here trying to hurt anybody. And I'm not preparing you for some really bad takes, because I don't think we have any. But I always want to throw that out there, because we come from a place of luck a lot, and we are obviously all our own people, and we have all worked in our own areas to be as good of people as we can be. And we're all just trying to learn and talk about it and learn how we can be better, because there are so many people in this world right now who need our help, they need our attention, and they need our support, and that's a big part of what we're trying to do here. So again, I appreciate anybody that's here right now, and I appreciate your consideration of our opinions, and likewise, we want to consider yours, and we really just want to learn as much as we can. So
yeah,
Thank you.
and I think just another point to that, Knackers, is that we have delayed 2 podcasts now just because there's so much stuff that's going on that's been wearing on us emotionally, just as it has everyone else, right? Regardless of your standpoints or whatever, you guys know how shit ends up impacting you regardless, right? So
Yep.
We've all been feeling that, and we don't want to be obviously it's on our mind, and it's hard to go into talking about things that we are passionate about, like gaming and stuff, when we have these things wearing down on us. Whether it just be from a third party perspective or whatever it is. So, this whole podcast isn't just going to be us diving into negative topics, but it's definitely worth mentioning that it would be, we want to talk about these things, and it's not just like, we couldn't go on and overlook these things and just move on past it to topics that are just about streaming and stuff like that, especially when a lot of people are hurting. So,
right. And on top of that, like you just said,
like I said earlier,
the other thing that is a common mistake here in the streaming world is something happens, people react live immediately. They're emotional, irrational responses, and I don't want to be one of those people who reacts first and think later. And on top of that, of course, we all have our opinions and our perspectives, but in my opinion, there are other people whose opinions are more valid and valuable right now. I didn't want to be just another voice out there in the void overshadowing people who actually need to be heard. I've been heard for the past 4 years on this podcast. There are so many other people that deserve the time to speak right now, and I just didn't want to overshadow that. And they both reflected my thoughts. When we were talking about, hey, do we want to do a podcast today? I've canceled 5 podcasts so far, and for a multitude of reasons. And yeah, it's just we wanted our chance to grieve and to learn, and to give people their chance to speak, because what we think is not the most important right now. It really isn't. So yeah, video games. Who usually goes first? Is it Bishy?
I like Jimmy's answers because they're all retro and old, and then I can get the new stuff.
I've been playing a lot of video games the last month, and I have beaten a few. I've been playing a lot of retro. I've been on a Metroidvania kick, so I've been playing. Played Bloodstained, beat that. Symphony of the Night, an old PS1 game, beat that. Borderlands 3 off stream because I have a friend of mine who wanted to play multiplayer. Not gonna lie, pretty underwhelming game.
Really?
Which one?
Borderlands 3.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's basically Borderlands 2, but with a shittier story and better graphics. It's basically. But it's the same old game, I guess. Anyway, let's see. Castlevania 4, Animal Crossing off stream, Dead Cells, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, a bunch of one-off retro titles. I played Castle Crashers today with my son. A lot of retro games, and then a lot of Metroidvania type titles of what's been my cup of tea for the most part lately.
There is a 2D Dark Souls-ish, maybe sort of kind of Metroidvania game that I played, and I can't remember the name of it.
Blasphemous?
I thought the game was Blasphemous, but it was a different game. And I want to say one of the I think the currency in the game was shards.
Shards?
Oh, that's Bloodstained.
Bloodstained.
Shards, yeah. Well, that's one of the things you collect. It's not currency, I guess.
Not Bloodstained. Nope.
Okay.
Fuck, man.
I hear my wife calling my dog. She's probably looking. I let you out.
But it was a game like that, and it honestly looked exactly like Blasphemous, and I got so confused. I remember playing it on stream for like maybe 2 or 3 times, and now but now I can't find it. So if anybody remembers what it is, I would love to know. I don't know if I can just search like, hey, Google Metroidvania Steam games, and we'll go from there. What has been your favorite retro game that you have played in the past month or so?
What?
Jimmy? Oh, I'm sorry. What's your favorite retro game that you've played recently?
Favorite? Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Okay.
PlayStation 1. Came out in 97.
Oh my god.
That game. That's one of the, it's one of the best games of all time. It's easily one of the best. It's just one of the best games of all time. If you've never played it, you need to play it.
Death's Gambit.
If you like that sort of stuff.
So if you like Blasphemous, you got to check out Death's Gambit. That was a game. I think somebody had recommended it to me.
I'm gonna look it up. I trust Amber, so I'm gonna look this up on Steam right now.
Yeah, I think you will really like it. Same kind of deal with Dark Souls and Blasphemous, where you have these big, large bosses with massive health bars.
It is currently 40% off.
$11, easy.
$11.99.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. That was.
Is it what kind of? Is it like a platformer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a platformer.
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, it looks exactly like Blasphemous.
Yeah. Looks cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Word.
While you guys are talking, I'm Googling these games just to even have any idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, this actually does look cool.
It's okay. We forgive you, Bishy.
Yeah, I'm just a lot of retro games, like platforming games. I feel like I miss out on them. There's games that are like remakes, or not necessarily remakes, but made in the style of platformers. And I feel like I miss out on them just because of the style. So if you guys have any recommendations, let me know.
You just reminded me of what I'm doing on this Steam sale.
Huh.
You just reminded me. You know what I'm doing?
Buying everything.
I'm not buying shit.
You're not buying a goddamn thing?
No, right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the games that I'm thinking about buying and I'm putting them on my wish list. And then I'm going to look on my wish list at the end and then pick out, like, I don't know, $25, $30 worth of games maybe that I really want of that list.
Yeah.
You like that?
Out of control. Yeah. You're going to, if you buy like a $10 game every single day.
It can get crazy. But if you set yourself a limit ahead of time, that's actually a good way to do it. And then you just got to know when the sale ends, obviously. When does the sale end?
No idea.
Yeah, I'm looking
We need to know this. This could save someone listening to the podcast.
July 9th, 10 a.m. is that thousands of games on sale from June 25th to July 9th, 10 a.m. Pacific.
July 9th at what time?
10 a.m. Pacific.
Okay, so at noon Central, the sale is over July. So really July 8th, you need to buy it by.
Okay.
You gotta buy it by. What about not on planet Earth? What time does the sale end?
I think it's around 2:30 if you're a dentist, and then
20 Sol.
Oh, 20 Sol.
What if you're in a different galaxy?
Then you're going by the fifth dimension clock. You're not going by our time.
I actually have a friend that is in another dimension, so I could just text him and just say,
You just made me think of something because space makes my head spin. Weenie was watching, I think she was watching like a TikTok compilation on YouTube or something, and there was somebody that's saying, when we think about blind people and we think about what it's like to be blind, you think of just your eyes closed and you seeing blackness, right? Like, is that how you imagine being blind? So take your right hand and put your finger over your right eye, all right? And force it closed. So you see how you just see nothing, not blackness? That's what it's like to be blind. Not seeing black, but just seeing nothing.
Huh.
That
interesting. Huh.
fucks me up.
These are those things that you probably shouldn't be thinking about before going to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
These are things that are best thought about early in the day, not at the end of the day.
Yep.
Just saying.
But yeah, we were watching that, and Weenie was just like, "What the fuck?" All right, Bishop. games. I know you don't play any because you are a workaholic.
Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. I've actually stopped playing WoW as often as I normally do. It was kind of my go-to for a while, just like ranking up and stuff. So a few games. Satisfactory. Casey was gifted to it by one of her followers on Twitch. So I bought it on the Steam Summer Sale. I think it's $26 right now. $27. I'm looking at it right now. We played it for a little bit. I have to be honest. We didn't really get too far. Like we just got to like the first structure that you can build. I've been a big fan of like Factorio. But it seems pretty good. We had a good time. We'll probably end up going back to it, but it definitely seems like the 3D characters are basically like bought off of like a CG store and then modified to look like something else, like a whale that has legs. That was like they just shrink the dynamics of the animal to make it look different. And like as someone that spends a lot of time designing stuff in 3D, it kind of threw me off. So or like once you notice it, it's hard to unsee, right? So it's Satisfactory, pretty good. I'd say like 7 cookies out of 11. So that's pretty good. The other stuff, so most of the stuff for work is motorsports related and like racing games. It actually became a senior team member of this Zansho Sim Sport, which they basically are like the leading R Factor 2 team. So it's kind of like the Cloud9 of sim racing. They so they got me into sim racing. So I've been playing Assetto Corsa a lot, and just I actually I pulled like an old Xbox steering wheel out of that I had from Xbox 360. This Mad Catz piece of shit, force feedback literal piece of garbage. Wii sticks would be better. And I hooked it up to a desk. Casey let me use like one of the side table that she had laying around, and I bolted it to the wall. So it's a sim seat to some extent. It's literally just a steering wheel and pedals with the office chair. So like as I push the brakes, I'm like going backwards. But I've been playing a lot of racing games, and I've been having a good time. So like R Factor, Assetto Corsa. I think that's pretty much it. So
okay,
yeah, that's I've been doing different stuff. It seems like every week I'm like diving into something new. But the one thing that I saw on the Steam sale that I might buy, and if someone's played it and it has feedback, is Disco Elysium. It looks really, really, really good, but I don't know if it's actually really, really, really good. But it won.
It won a lot of. We had that show last year. We were talking about it. It was all those awards, and we were all like, "What game is this?"
Yeah, we were going over. I think it was like E3 or the Gamescom or something like that, and it was all of the awards for like the top games, and Knackers listed them. And Disco Elysium popped up like 10 or 15 times, and we were just sitting there like, "What the hell is this game?"
Amber says it's a good game if you like to read.
18,000
or Embers. Okay.
A lot of text in that game. You read words.
I can do a word or two.
18,000 positive reviews.
You're kind of the person that kind of prefers the type of books that have pictures and the things that like pop out of the book at you, you know. But you know what? I'm glad that you're embracing change. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, you know, I'm a big story. I can dive into a good old story. I was looking for
that doesn't rhyme. A story that doesn't rhyme with the Schurenstein Clairs or Bifford the Big Ned Log.
Oh.
No,
no. I see what you're doing here. You're rhyming. You're trying to lead me to
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I don't know. That's like the one game that I might buy. If I mean, it's overwhelmingly positive or very positive on Steam. So I think that looks pretty good. So
okay.
I'll probably go ahead.
Put it on the wish list, bro.
Hey,
don't make any purchases till July 8th. Okay.
I like
Set yourself a budget. Mm-hmm. Put it on the wish list. All right.
Okay,
Pro moves.
I'm just gonna buy it.
Don't buy it, man.
I have not. This is what makes me feel like a bad gamer. So recently, like the past couple weeks, what's that?
Your Fortnite, KD?
Listen, I have some good snipes on stream, okay? Leave me alone. That game's... If we had some ranked matchmaking, maybe I could win a fucking round.
Is it your ability to play Street Fighter games that makes you feel
okay,
like a bad
that's
gamer?
not even fair. That's not even fair. That's like me bringing Rocket League to your house and go, let's go.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I have not paid attention to any of the conventions, like the virtual conventions or the press conferences, PS5, Xbox, whatever, PC Gamer Show. I don't care about this manufactured hype shit. I just fucking don't. Like, and it makes me feel like I am not a good gaming role model. Like, it makes me feel like you really shouldn't be streaming video games because, like, I look at other people, right, that are just absolutely consumed by video games. They watch, they co-stream every single event. They do reaction videos on YouTube. They write their own reviews. They like any genre. And it took me a while to come to the conclusion that I am not that person. And I also don't think that people look to me to be that person. Like now, after 6 or 7 years of streaming, people don't know me as the video game nerd, right? There's a fucking clown on my wall. I don't have any like amiibos hanging out and around. So, and that's fine, but like sometimes it makes me feel bad, but then the events come and go and I go, I don't give a shit. And none of these games aren't going to be out for a year. These motherfuckers are saying that the PS5 is going to get 120 frames per second in 4K. I'll believe it when I motherfucking see it. So any time that it comes to just like hardware or video game releases and trailers, I don't give a shit about any of it. I'll just wait. I have 400 games that I still need to play in my Steam library. I'm not about to just jump on another one. That's just kind of how I feel about that.
Yeah. You're the worst. No, I think it's in our nature as streamers, me streaming all the time. It's in our nature to find things, not just like there's a type of streamer that literally just finds new story games and plays through them and react Andes the entire way through it. But then there's something to be said about streamers that look at games for the things beyond what the game is capable of out of the box, like finds ways to make it interesting for the stream, right? So I don't know. I feel the same way. Like I don't really give a shit about new games that are coming out, but I'm looking at like, oh, how could I like incorporate something like Assetto Corsa into like hosting a series? I'll commentate, I'll do all the production for it, and then it's like all the viewers that are a part of it. I don't know. I feel like or like GTA RP is a perfect example of this. Like GTA by itself, people see the storyline and they're like, okay, cool, that's over, right? Yep. They pretty much like if you streamed the story mode on GTA, you probably wouldn't end up getting that many concurrent viewers, probably. Yep. But if you stream GTRP and create your own story inside of the same environment, it becomes more interesting. So I think that's like my goal if I come back to streaming at some point, is to find ways to not like look at the newest games that come out as like, oh, hey, here's Red Dead Redemption came out. Let me play it because people want to see the storyline and they don't want to pay $60 to buy the game or whatever it is, right? Like find things that are genuinely interesting that I can add like additional value to, because I genuinely don't think I'm the kind of person that can add value to like a storyline game, right? Without like overreacting.
And I'm definitely not good at making, like, I'm playing a video game, like a single player campaign to play the video game. Like I'm not good at bringing extra entertainment value to a single player game. And I know that, but I still play them anyways because there's games that I want to play.
You did. It was hilarious.
Oh my god! And getting over it.
Coming from someone who plays single player games almost exclusively, I mean, it really just depends on the type of game. You know, there's some games that are really easy to create additional funny content that goes along with it, and then there are other games that are not. For case in point, I have found it difficult these days, whereas I didn't years ago, to play games that rely a lot on cinematics. Because what I have found now is that I'm the type of person that, you know, when I'm watching a cinematic, I'm trying not to talk over the cinematic, you know? Right. And just by the way the nature of Twitch is and alerts, the only way to like stop it from like perhaps being jarring in the story of the cinematics to either pause the cinematic when something happens, or you know what I mean? Like with alerts and everything else. It's become harder to play those games. And I don't know if it's because, you know, my viewership's gone up over the years and that's why. Not that I'm not streaming to huge crowds or anything like that, but it's, you know, it's slowly kind of gone up over the years. And you know, when chat's more interactive, I don't have those long periods in chat anymore generally where it's just totally devoid of something that's going on, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not even sure where I was going with that, but I think the point I was trying to make was that combat sucks at streaming, and that's it.
Yeah, I think
That was
really,
the only point. That was the only point I was trying to make. So
some conclusive storytelling to get to that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least Combat doesn't have amiibos behind him on the wall.
Yo, what's funny is you can't even see all the amiibos. Like, if
That's
you
how
look
many there are.
Here, there's 2 rows right there. What you can't see off the camera up is that freaking Mario thing that you gave me.
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch more amiibos on that and on the bottom of it. So there's a lot of amiibos.
I do have like 7 or 8. They're just not on display anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as games, before we bounce into the meat potatoes, I have been playing Far Cry New Dawn, which I'm just a huge fan of Far Cry games in general. I always have a super amount of fun with them. I enjoy the storylines. They always put a lot of time into the characters that are on your team. Having them kind of around you in the game is always a good time. And I enjoy the gunplay. I enjoy killing civilians and not getting penalized for it. I love running over animals with these like post-apocalyptic vehicles. It's just a great time all around. I've been playing a little bit of Rocket League. I've had 2 nights of Rocket League in the past probably month. I played with Mr. Vansman and Mr. 42 recently, and good time as always. Again, I don't know. Like the chat, I had this weird thing happen right before the show. One of my VODs that I exported to YouTube got removed because it was violating their terms of service or their community guidelines. Like, I didn't get an explanation on what was in the VOD that got removed. They made a mention to something about COVID-19. I don't fucking know. But anyways, yeah, Rocket League. And then Weenie and I have been playing Borderlands 2 off stream, the Tiny Tina DLC, which...
that's a good one.
Borderlands 2 story...
good.
Was good. The Tiny Tina DLC
is awesome.
Is fucking fantastic.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. No. It's really
I
good.
To play any of the expansions, and I've been like, I don't know why, but every time I go back to Borderlands, I only play the base game, like an idiot.
Same.
Yeah, the DLC in Borderlands 2. Well, honestly, in Borderlands 1, there was some good, some weak DLC. Borderlands 2, most of the DLC is really good. But I especially like the Tiny Tina one came out like that was the last, or actually technically it was the second to last one because then they made another one right before they put out Borderlands 3, which I never even played.
The Psycho.
I don't remember what it was called.
I don't
have
either.
all of them. Do you want me to go on my Steam?
Yes. Look for us.
Well, they put out like a free DLC right before Borderlands 3 came out. For Borderlands 2, yeah, like a few months before the game came out. I want to say.
Okay. I think I remember that.
It was kind of a big deal because it was
Captain Scarlet.
You know, they put out DLC that for
Dragon
a game that had been out for years and years. The sequel's getting ready to come out, so I thought that was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it's called Dragon's Keep. I'm pretty sure that was the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good.
Good storyline game. Really great game. I feel like the DLCs were better than the actual game itself.
But dude, Borderlands 3 is freaking jank when it comes to story and funny. I don't know if it's because I've outgrown the humor, or that might be part of it.
Right.
The other part, I just don't think it's as well written or as funny. I just think that it's basically an improved game engine or updated graphics, some quality of life improvements, but it's essentially almost the same exact game, you know, but only without the story that keeps you kind of hooked in.
Yeah.
Some people don't play Borderlands games for the story or whatever, but if I'm playing for a game for a long period of time and it's that type, like I kind of want to be engaged with the story somewhat, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're dedicating that much time to it, you want it to be there a little bit. It sounded like you just coughed in auto-tune. That was so weird. I think Discord roboted. It sounded like...
Sorry.
Oh, that was great. So yeah, that's... It's been awesome. It's been a really great story, and I've enjoyed it very much. Borderlands, and I feel the same way about Borderlands. Sure, there's a couple UI changes, but for the most part, it's the same game with a little bit better graphics, and a couple changes. And then Beat Saber.
I was hoping for something that was going to be like an evolution, because it was I was just hoping it was going to be a lot better than it is. It's not a bad game, but I feel like the way I feel about Borderlands 3 is the same way I feel about when Mass Effect Andromeda came out. When Mass Effect Andromeda came out, it wasn't a bad game. I mean, there was a lot of bugs when it first came out, but it wasn't a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination. But if you put it up to the earlier Mass Effect games, it's just not nearly as fun. And that's how I feel about Borderlands 3. I'm not having near as much fun playing Borderlands 3 as I did playing 2 or 1. It's like, shit, I'm going to just go back and play through 2 again. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Had more fun playing that game. So,
did you buy it on PC?
Huh?
Did you buy it on PC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have it on PC. I mean, it's not bad. It's just it's like oatmeal, you know?
Listen, it's mostly negative.
It's there. It's a big mostly, fat bowl of okay.
It's mostly negative on Steam, and that usually means it's pretty bad.
Borderlands 3 is?
Yeah. Oh wait. I could be wrong. Hold on. This could just
hold on. I was actually looking up a game called Shorterlands.
I was on the expansion thing. It was like the better version. It wasn't the base version of the game. It was like a more expensive version.
I was like, God damn.
Yeah. They basically was just saying that they don't. People don't see the additional value in buying them more.
Dude, look at the Borderlands bundle. Underneath the one for $60. Look at all of the titles that are fucking included with that. It's insane.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's like a paragraph of expansions. Lots of content.
Oh my god, $60?
Yeah.
Maybe Borderlands 3 will be saved by DLC.
Let me ask you something. Why the fuck does Steam need me to put my birthday in when I'm already logged in to an age verified account?
I think that is a law. It's either a law or some type of shit that they have to abide by. Because
of course, you know the fucking answer to this. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
I remember looking this up, and there's a couple other places where this is implemented because it's a running desktop application. There are chances that somebody else could hop on the computer.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. I was hoping you would say, I don't know, man, that's fucked, and we could just
it's fucked. Steam. It's definitely fucked. It's not as fucked as not having a password manager, though.
Yeah, that's true. I think that there's a guy at Steam. There's a guy at Steam that's sitting there, and he's like, "Who's this little bitch? Wants to look at my content, little bitch? I see you." He's looking using your webcam. He's like, "Look at this little bitch with this little mustache, little 12-year-old ass bitch." And then he's like, "All right, let's get him to verify, and then maybe he'll bring it up on a podcast because he's mad."
Oh wait, you were talking about Jimmy.
No, not you. No, yeah.
Oh.
What you are doing right now is what he imagines Jimmy is doing.
Look at this. Jimmy's always used to seeing the top of my head. Anyways, anything else about video games? I'm kind of just playing a bunch of different things. Still wishing Splitgate was a thing, but it ain't.
Hey, listen, I'll play Splitgate with you any time of the day. I love.
Nobody's playing. We cannot get a full lobby. There's 11 people playing. 1v1.
Yeah, we'll bring the boys. We'll get Noble Pastime, so we have someone to kill. You can come and we can play.
That's actually one of my favorite reasons for doing community events is because if there's a game out there that's still for sale but you can't fill a lobby, you can get people together. Shout out to the homies earlier this week. We played Roblox. There's a game mode called Arsenal, which is basically just Roblox gun game. It is so fun. It is so fucking fun.
My son plays that with his friends.
Yeah.
It is so fun.
My son's 9.
By the way,
it's like entry level CS:GO.
It is. Yeah. Heads are huge, so headshots are obtainable. The other thing though, there's like. You go through the gun game, and every round of gun game, you don't have the same progression or group of weapons. So you'll be shooting through guns, and then all of a sudden you've got snowballs, and you're just chucking snowballs, and then you got a Harry Potter book, and you're throwing flames. You get a rail gun. I'm telling you, if there's anybody out there who just enjoys shooters and likes gun game, come play Roblox with us for just one day. Give it a shot. I guarantee that you will. There's no way you can't have fun. You're just shitting on children the entire time and fellow community members. I'm telling you, it's great.
Streamer knackers found to shit on children.
Hey,
That is the worst
guys,
time.
wanna come shit on some kids? Come on. Come on.
Oh, this is the worst time to be accused of something like this. My last name was changed from Delia. All right, so we have a couple topics, and we can really skip over the Dr. Disrespect stuff. I mean, I got all of my horny conspiracy theory speculation out of my system a couple days ago. It's not that I'm obsessed, it's that I'm very intrigued because
I'm the same way, and I care so much about this that I'm gonna go get another beer right now while you explain how you're intrigued.
and we are going to talk nice about you. What a fucker. And there goes Bishop too. It's not that I want so badly to speculate what is going on. It's that there are so many options for what this actually could be that makes it so interesting. This is either the best marketing scheme since Marlboro's NASCAR racing ads after cigarettes were banned from the league, or this is one of the biggest streamers in the history of streaming going to jail for some crazy shit, or it's just something like it's a business deal. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but because of how we all consume drama and regurgitate it and spin it and spit it, there's so many reasons why. But it's so intriguing because if you know Doc and you know his personality and how he acts on stream, and then you watch those last 10 minutes of his show, and you start, like, your brain just goes into fucking overdrive mode. And it's just, and I know because I've seen your conspiracy tweets on Twitter and stuff, and I'm hoping that one of them's gonna take. But it's just, it's so interesting, and I'm sure that if we were in 2018 and this happened, everybody wouldn't be losing their mind. But everyone is stuck in their fucking house with their 3 kids that they fucking hate, and their stepmother who won't bang them, never invites the stepdaughter over for any love, and everybody's just quarantined, and we're all emotional, and we're hyperventilating, and we're just chomping at the bit, like any fucking story that we can get, and we're all just gobbling it up. And it's okay. I acknowledged that I was invested in the story, but not obsessed. But it is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I think day one I was obsessed. Whether or not I care anymore, I was just hoping that I could go to sleep and then wake up the next day and there would be something.
And it wasn't.
No, I think that we're all kind of in the same boat. We just want to know what's happening, but it's like this is the best part about waiting. Like, Christmas is great. Wondering what you get for Christmas up until you get shitty gifts for Christmas. Right? So I feel like we should cherish this moment because it is relatively interesting. I think everyone's gotten their conspiracy boners. They're all flattened at this point. We're all milked out. So we just have to wait and see what happens. There's this thing with like the 29th, I guess, which would be tomorrow. So if that happens, great. But yeah, it's interesting because I think in light of the current situation with a lot of the allegations and things that are going on in different communities in the world, it just feels like the timing of this is pretty bad. And like, regardless of what it is, it forces, I don't know if it's good. Like, obviously it's good publicity for Doctor because it's just everyone's talking about him. But it also, the immediate thing that a lot of people jumped to was, is he one of the people that has sexual allegations against him? Which I don't know if that necessarily helps him. But yeah, it's just it's just a weird environment. Like, I don't know if it is like a marketing scheme, which to some extent maybe it is, but maybe a little bit tone deaf to the, to the environment surrounding Twitch. But in speaking from like if Doc decided to leave Twitch because of those things, like if you felt that Twitch isn't doing enough, maybe that would be a way that it could be recovered just in the eyes of the public. But it'll probably be bad regardless. But yeah, there's a lot of people tweeting like, "Oh, I know what it is. I just can't say it." Like, just shut the fuck up.
By the way,
just shut up. You're doing literally nothing but causing people to want to they're demanding information, more information.
It's so bad. I just cannot say it.
Yeah.
By the way,
And
when Jimmy comes back, I'm gonna say, hey, since we got sidetracked, let's talk about the Dr. Disrespect thing, just to piss him off when he comes back.
Okay. Soda Poppin' actually really surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but hilarious, right? Soda Poppin's been tweeting shit out like, oh, I know what happened to Doc and you don't, ha ha ha. So he's just been totally playing into that, but.
Oh, well.
Yeah, and basically my kill-death ratio, my kill-death ratio and like just the races that I've been involved in, that's just basically just been what I've been working on, so.
Okay. Well, since we got sidetracked, we can talk about the Dr. Disrespect thing now.
Nice try, bitch.
I couldn't keep a straight fucking face. I tried so hard.
Whenever I know I'm going to be gone for more than a minute, I'm always trying to trick you guys when I say talk shit about me. Because I always have the audio on my phone when I walk out of the
Motherfucker!
That's cheating.
That is cheating.
Come on, get a wireless headset.
It's called being a fucking sleuth, man. A super sleuth.
A sleuth. Well, we were just still kind of shitting about it, but yeah, it's the whole getting into like conspiracies, the whole David Icke video watching and mumbling of him buying the book, that just set like the whole thing off. I'm like, what the? And again, this is what leads me to believe it's either. He's so fucking. Guy has always, and actually, what's funny, his real name is Herschel. His middle name is Guy. He has always said that he is a super shy person, which you wouldn't think watching his show. So he is either so emotionally floored at that time that his brain cannot process what the fuck is going on, or we are watching like one of the best actors in streaming history that is just about to bloom into a beautiful butter fucking fly, and he's gonna go on to the next thing. And that's just like trying to figure out which one it is between those two as well. It's awesome, but it's also terrifying, and it's a complete waste of time.
It could age really terribly if it is some sort of allegation of some sort. And we're like, hey, he's going to bloom into a butterfly that gets clipped. And then it's like, oh, fuck.
The only thing I'm going to say about Dr. D, so we can can it, move on to more important stuff, is one thing. The only thing I really appreciate about him, I'm not a huge fan of him. There's been a few laughs I've had, some clips I've seen. But I do appreciate the fact that you can say whatever you want about really anything. The guy has the most amazing production value I've ever seen on a Twitch stream, and he ups the level for other streamers because his production values are so high. And so the content itself, I couldn't care less about, but what I love is that he's got such slick production. Now I know he's not all him, he's had people helping him too, but I think when you see something like that, it has an impression on at least me as a streamer. Is like, how can I make mine more visually impressive to the viewer? You know what I mean? Like, what can I do to improve things? And
absolutely,
and that's kind of that's what I feel like his most important contribution is regarding Twitch. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Any final points on that, Bishop?
No, I think Jimmy's right. I mean, I think if it is entertainment, this is great entertainment for people. Maybe to sure, like there's the thing that should be stated is that it does detract from like the issues that are happening because the focus comes off of that a little bit for people to look at Doc. So it is a bit of a negative if that's the case. We have to wait and see. There's nothing that we can do to determine what's going to happen or what it is. But I think Jimmy's right. I mean, it would be very impactful if we lost someone that's been so predominant on the platform and doing a lot of good. Obviously, there's been some bad and a lot of bad, or some bad, depending on who you ask. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely pushed other streamers to do better and to bring in more tools. So I think losing someone like that, regardless of who they are on the platform, is all around a negative. So unless it's obviously something that is extreme, where on the next podcast I'll be like, well, fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well, and that's why there was no point in spending a ton of time on this issue. Sure. And I think this is perfect. Spend about 10-15 minutes, and that's all that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
Because it's just nobody knows, and until nobody knows, it's going to be endless speculation. So.
Yep. And I mentioned this on my stream on Saturday, where we spent like It was a just chatting stream. We were just talking about everything, and I said, I don't normally have streams where I sit here and talk about the flavor of the week and just speculate and comment on and just scroll through Twitter and look at all this shit because they're not healthy and it's not the kind of content that I like to create. But at that time, I was consumed. I was consumed by it.
Yeah. Well, it's different. Yeah. It's within, moments of something that happened, and it's different. But at this point now, it's like, whatever.
Yep. The grand thought, my final thought about all of it is, this is the craziest fucking time in live streaming history.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah. There has never been another time like this where there has been such a climax in multiple communities. And one of the other things that I mentioned, we're so professional. Fucking Bishop. There was one woman from the Destiny community that ended up coming out with a story regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment from a popular Destiny streamer. Mm-hmm. And then that little pocket of courage kind of Spider-Man'd out into a bunch of other creators. Other creators came forward with their stories as well. And then not even across Twitch, but gaming, content creation, and plus. There's just all of these people, both men and women, but predominantly women, people coming out with their stories about shit that they have endured in the industry. And there's that, and then we got the whole Black Lives Matter, which obviously with the large population of streamers regarding people of color on Twitch, that has a huge presence on Twitch as well. So there's just so fucking much right now, and it's awesome, it's scary, it's emotional, and nobody.
Another streaming platform owned by Microsoft shut down as well.
Anybody remember the name of that?
I don't remember the name. It was
Party?
Wait, what was it before it was the current name?
Justice TV.
It had no Beam. There it is. I saw it in chat. Buddha said it. Beam.
Yeah.
It was Beam first. And I'm like, Beam? Like Willie Beamish? Like the 90s Sierra game? Beam? Beam? Like I'm walking across a wood beam?
Beam. Speaking of bad timing.
Speaking of bad names for streaming platforms, how about this alleged streaming platform called, what was it? The new one that everyone's
Bromo? Domo? Fromo?
Brime
with an M. Brime.
Brime. It's like, would you like some brime in your tea, sir? Who's getting paid to come up with these fucking names?
Yeah, this is really bad. Yeah.
What's this? It's like a fake spice.
Yeah. Like a child leaf of basil or some shit.
You need 1/16 of a teaspoon of brime to add to your broth.
If someone came to me and told me that they need a brime, or they were mentioning brime in any,
I got one in my garage. Hang on.
Yeah, I would think it's something that you rub on meat, right? Like the UJ, you just got to put a nice brime on it.
Yeah.
Or like a finishing coat.
Like that instead of brine or brime, you could probably just insert it in a conversation, and because people think you know what you're talking about, they'll just agree with you.
He was primed.
Let's imagine in the world that it is a replacement or competition for Mixer or competition for Twitch. Imagine the crossover between people memeing Twitch Prime and Twitch Brime.
Shit!
Here's my Prime on you.
oh shit! Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you, Knackers. I totally cut you off. Actually, I'm not sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Listen, just to get you back on track. You brought up how just the timeline as far as the allegations are concerned.
Yes. So, right a couple days before Mixer shut down, there was massive threads all over Twitter regarding people that had come out regarding racial discrimination at Mixer. Excuse me, that was almost a terrible mistake. And then
I didn't see any of this. You Mixer for I missed this. How did I miss this?
That came out like a day or two before the announcement that they were shutting down.
Yeah, it was
That's not why they shut down.
No, not at all. But it looked really
It
fucking
looked
bad.
It added the optics for it make it even worse. Of course, absolutely, yes.
Just in relation to Doc getting banned during this time, it's just bad fucking timing.
Yeah.
Everything's bad timing.
Everything's bad timing, dude. There's not good timing for anything. It's not good timing to go to the store and get a fucking burger. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good timing for anything. Unless it's good timing if you're in the sanitation industry, I guess. Cleaning chemicals. It's good time for you.
Time for me to announce that I'm coming back to streaming to Mixer next month? Or?
Yes. You have 20 days to get partnered.
Yeah, great timing. Great timing.
To be honest, it's a great time to be in IT too, because the amount of fucking work right now.
There's a lot of volume. Yeah. A lot of volume of work. I think we kind of segued perfectly into the whole Mixer shutting down. That's a good starting point before we get to the other one. But I think we've talked about Mixer at length on this podcast over the last couple of years. You know, we've been on. You know, this I haven't. Knackers has. But this podcast has been around for 4 years, and I think Mixer's been around for 3 or 4 years, about as long as this podcast has been around.
Possibly even 5.
You might have outlasted the Mixer.
Yeah, this podcast
for as long as it's known as Mixer. I want you to think about that for a second. Okay, dude. We got more staying power than fucking Mixer. Okay,
that's pretty badass.
Okay, I just want you to think about that. All right, but it's unfortunate because there were people that were making a living and were doing well on that platform. But if you just looked at the simple numbers, you knew it wasn't going to be sustainable. I mean, if you look at the overall viewership on the Mixer platform compared to all the others, they didn't even have a significant portion of the market share. I mean, not even close to a significant portion. 100%. Yeah. I mean, it was, I think for you to even be considered a worry for these big businesses, you got to be looking at like in the 5+% where they even might pay attention. No one paid attention to Mixer because they didn't draw enough of an audience.
They didn't even draw the attention to themselves.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It is unfortunate for those people that were affected. I feel for not the big streamers that got big contracts to go because they made out like bandits, but the streamers that perhaps they weren't, for whatever reason, they went over to Mixer and found the success that they weren't having on whatever platform they were on before, you know, whether it was YouTube or Twitch or whatever. And I know there was people like that. And for them to have the rug pulled out from underneath them, like I saw something on Twitter. I know this is totally anecdotal, but it made me really feel bad because it was the day the news came out. And then later that day, someone had like did a mashup of clips of people that were finding out the news as it broke on Mixer. Yeah. And these different Mixer streamers who were like in tears and upset. And I mean, there's not a lot of context for these things but you know, it made me realize like, man, that really fucking sucks. Yeah. I mean, if I were to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden Twitch was like, oh, there's no more streaming on Twitch, we're canceling the service, it would be a big blow to me mentally. Like, it would throw me. And if you think about it, for some of those streamers, I'm sure too that's the only platform they may have streamed on for the last several years, and then all of a sudden, gone. Yep. And it brought up a good point by, I think you tweeted something about it. No, it was you, Bishop, and you had mentioned the fact, and it made me think too. If your content is defined by the platform that you're on, then you probably needed to diversify your content. Yeah. And that was a really, really smart. I don't know if that's what you said. I think it was something like that. But
it sounds smart. I'll take credit.
Okay. It was something like that, and it made me think to myself too. Like, if Twitch were to not exist, would I be able to exist on another streaming platform? You know, right? And that opened a lot of things for me to think about. So, sucks. It sucks for those streamers. I think in the grand scheme of things, in the streaming world, the loss of Mixer means almost nothing. The thing that sucks about it is that you always want competition, you know, because Twitch, there's no real competition for Twitch. I mean, even with all its problems, Twitch is the number one in my opinion, streaming platform. They do a lot of things not great, but they do so many things much better than the other two. Because really, the only other two are YouTube and Facebook. Those are the only two ones that with any significant market share. And you could talk about there's other streaming platforms I know, but I think would I be correct, Bishop? I know you're connected with these sort of things.
So I guess just to before we go into that, to lead off of what you just said, what do you think the one bullet point would be regarding Twitch and what they're doing better than other platforms? Do you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh well, I mean, I guess part of Twitch has an advantage, a distinct advantage of the fact that they were one of the first to the market. I mean, that gave them the advantage that they have. I can't really speak to Facebook a whole lot because I'm not on Facebook. I don't have a Facebook, and I can only speak to Facebook from what I've heard from other people, which I know is not a great way to give an impression because then I'm no better than like the talking head on TV that's just spouting off an opinion of something that I haven't actually formed the opinion myself. With that said.
Yeah, and I kind of put you on the spot as well, and I think that to answer that, I think that Twitch for you, and you can agree or disagree, but I think that the thing that Twitch has is the culture, right?
Yep.
Like because they're the first to the market, they have the culture, they have like this environment that is pro gaming. It's not Facebook where, like when you think of Facebook, the first thing that comes to my mind is that's where my parents and old people go to talk about politics and bitch about their lives. Yep. That's literally what I think about immediately. Mm-hmm. Twitter is the same thing, just for Zoomers. TikTok is where people post funny videos and girls dance that are underage, and it's weird because why hasn't that been? Keemstar hasn't even seen that somehow. It's slipped underneath his radar somehow. Young girls dancing and old guys oogling over it. Super fucking weird.
Speaking of Keemstar, did you unfollow Keemstar on Twitter?
I don't think I have.
I have never followed that piece of garbage.
Okay, because I was going to make like a funny Twitter video like how to check to make sure none of your friends are following Keemstar. And then like I probably had maybe 15, 20 people that I followed Keemstar. A lot of which are people I considered friends. And then I went to go make that video, and then I went to check, because if you click on Keemstar's profile and then you click on followers, it'll show you people that you most interact with first. And everybody was gone. I'm like, oh my God. Like, everybody I know unfollowed Keemstar. This is fucking amazing. And then I never made them video. So
I want to see immediately like what pops up, who I follow. See, I think with Keemstar, it's kind of like it's like if you're not into like Hollywood Hills bullshit and then you follow the Kardashians. Like, you're literally just there to see the shit show that unfolds. And like, I guess the way that you could compare that to politics is like whether or not you like the president, like you might follow him just to see if he says something stupid in a tweet, regardless of like what side of the aisle you're on. So like, that's kind of where I'm at, is like, what other dumb shit is this guy going to post? Like I don't think I could simply agree with anything that he said, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like we have, as a culture, like we have this tendency to like just want to shut out the things that we dislike instead of facing them. So like, in a way, my following of Keemstar doesn't speak to me being a supporter of him, but more of someone that's keeping an eye on just like the other day, he came out and said that women on Twitch should just say no to prevent themselves from getting sexually assaulted.
Right.
Which in most cases you're not going to see unless you follow him. Right. And maybe like, obviously I don't agree with that. But I think in most cases, like just even seeing the character of people, or this person that, because otherwise, what are you going to see from Keemstar? You're going to see him calling out other people for their wrongdoing, and then you won't have like a negative opinion of them based on what they're actually genuinely putting out there.
Sure.
So that's kind of it. I mean, I follow a lot of people I don't agree with. One of I follow MiddleAgedStream. I follow. Yeah.
I think that's just where we differ as people is. I would just rather not have you in my purview fucking at all. Like, I don't even want to think about you because I hate you so much. And I say that word loosely, but not loosely, because there's not many people that I fucking hate. But when it's funny because when we think about people on the internet, like content creators, and when people think about Keemstar, it's nobody ever says, look at all the good that Keemstar has done. The argument is always, all of the bad things that he's done aren't really that bad. Like, the argument is never, look at all of the amazing things that he's done. Why does everybody hate him? It's always like, oh no, that was out of context. That was taken from somebody from who was irrelevant. It's like, oh my fucking God. But I don't want to give that man any more airtime.
No, I know what you're saying. And I think that there's certain people that blindly follow accounts just to see, because like you'll end up seeing like allegations against someone. So say you're following, I'm just going to throw Jimmy's name out here just so I don't use anyone that's actually had an allegation or something against him. But like if Jimmy ended up in a Keemstar video and Keemstar's like, hey, Jimmy he's promoting beer on his platform and he owns half the company, but he doesn't disclose that. Like all that people typically see is that allegation that ends up coming out. And then they believe it based on not knowing who Keemstar is as a person. Most people now on Twitter and stuff like that, like people that are involved in YouTube or Twitch drama or whatever it is, they typically know about those things. But my approach to it is like, I've never really agreed with him, but it's interesting because he continues to be vocal on the platform and the platform hasn't shut him up yet. Which is interesting because in most cases, YouTube has a history of shutting people up that they don't agree with. So it's interesting that he still has the limelight. And obviously, like over the past few months, while COVID was all going on, Ethan Klein, who I love H3H3, they were having a battle back and forth between the two. And then what really came out of it is that I dislike both of them now. Like I just think that they're both fucking idiots, right? Their content, I like Ethan Klein's content typically more often than I like Keemstar's content. But I think as content creators, it's interesting to see why people become popularized, right? Like why is Keemstar popularized? And it's ultimately
drama.
Yeah,
it's the drama. He manufactures drama in many cases,
and that's never going to go away, unfortunately.
No, that's human nature. That's the way people are. Sadly, the lowest common denominator. If you're the type of person that you enjoy listening to this podcast right now, you are probably not the same type of person that enjoys consuming a lot of that type of content. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the people that are creating that type of content, the lowest common denominator type of content, the shock value, the I don't want to say profanity or anything like that, because we got profanity, plenty of that here. But yeah, conspiracy theories and all the stuff that just gets a lot of people talking. That's something that's been propagated by people for decades and decades and decades, pretty much since mass media has been around. So that's not going to change now. But it still doesn't mean you can't call someone out for being a freaking shithead, I mean, that's probably being about the nicest thing I could say about that dude from everything I've heard about him. So, and read about him. So,
yeah. And I see what you're saying. Like, it's tough because by making it, like the generalization that Knackers is making, wanting to make that video is true, because it's like, how do you tell, like, how do you find people, how do I put this? So like if you wanted to, let's say, okay, let's just go back, because this is a really simple subject that everyone knows something about. They have an opinion one way or the other. But let's say if you follow Donald Trump, right? There's people that follow him that are supporters, and then there's people that follow them that fucking hate him, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Either way, one side or the other, regardless of what that is. Some people follow him literally just so they can respond to him and be like, hey, you're a fucking idiot. Some people follow him to be like, hey, Trump 2020, God bless America, right?
Yeah.
Does like that? That's what it. Exactly. By making so your idea is right, because you could say, how do you find the Trump supporters that you follow, and you just go to his page and find who follows him. But I think that there's circumstances that aren't necessarily support where that plays through, and an overwhelming majority of that is true, but there's still circumstances where it might not be true.
Okay, so tell me this: regardless of political party, do you believe that in some aspects Donald Trump is doing good with something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think Keemstar is doing good
with something? No,
that's my point. That's my fucking point. That is what I try to get people to understand, because it's like there's obviously going to people that are pro Trump and unpro Trump. I don't know what the other fucking word was. Against Trump.
But as a rebuttal to that, it depends on the reasoning that you're following that person. Because like, so in my certain circumstance, even though I think that everything that Trump does is not idiotic, there's still a lot of stupid shit that he does. I don't follow him for the good shit that he does, if that makes sense. To hear about that, I'm literally following it. I don't follow Trump, but in the event that I follow Trump, I would follow him just to be sure that every time that he said something stupid, I saw it first and I wasn't seeing it retweeted by some page that might be putting it out of context. Right?
Sure.
So I think that it plays a little bit the same with Keem, because I think that what ends up happening is people look at a set of words and then they make a generalization about those words and come to their own conclusion. And then they post a snippet of whatever that is and try to elaborate or to direct some sort of the narrative. And I don't think that, like, I don't know a lot about Keem, so like I don't know what good and what bad he does. But an overwhelming amount of what he does, from what I've seen, has been proven to be negative. But he has also gone after, I guess you could make an argument, I'm playing devil's advocate to a certain extent. You could argue that he has also gone, by jumping to conclusions, he's also outed people that have legitimately been child fiends. I don't know if that's the right term, but regardless, I think it's interesting because it's like, I think that my certain following of people is more, sometimes I follow people that I really dislike on Twitch just to see the bullshit and the drama and just to like have something to communicate with Casey. Like I walk out into the kitchen and be like, oh my God, did you see what's her face said?
Do you
like,
think that's healthy for you? Because that's my my follow-up point is following people just so you can be like, oh yeah, fuck you, fucker. Right. Like, do you think that's a healthy habit to have?
So I don't follow people for just to like be pissed off at what they post.
Sure.
Like I don't like, that's not like my main motivation. I don't think it's healthy for a lot of people to be following people that they genuinely dislike. But I think with staples in different communities, like in Twitch, right, or YouTube, Keemstar is a staple inside of that community. So it's interesting to see another perspective, or even just get it from like the mouth of the horse. I think that's the term, regarding something that is
what? Hold on.
Is that the mouth of the horse? Is that what it's the term?
Hold on. Fuck.
You hearing it?
Dude, can someone please clip that? Please. Please. Somebody clip that. Combat. You'll be my new best friend. Is that from the mouth of the horse? The mouth of the horse? You mean straight from the horse's mouth? You fucking.
I reworded it.
That's the best shit I've ever heard.
I think when it comes to people that have control over a certain amount of stake on a platform, it's important to see how they might be swaying the audience on that platform.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
For stake.
To a certain extent. Like, it's because Trump is president, it's interesting to see what he says, because it's like, holy fuck, okay. Monka S, are we completely fucked? Like,
Monka S anti-pog, dude.
Yeah, anti-pog. But sometimes there's a little bit of pog. But the other thing is, like, what I found with certain certain Trump quotes is that some people will literally create accounts where they will literally just tweet something and they'll reshare it or take a picture of it and it'll look like it's from Trump's account. And it's believable. Immediately when you see it, you're like, no fucking way did he say that. But you're like, there's a certain there's a certain amount of belief when you first see it, right?
Sure.
And a lot of the time you can just literally look up the tweet, and if sometimes it is true that he said something, or sometimes it's not the case. So typically, like, it's kind of like drama surfing, definitely. But yeah, I think it's important to keep an eye on the people that have a ton of following on Twitch or on YouTube or any of these platforms that I'm interested in.
Hey man, it's like they say, teach a man to fish and you can lead a horse to water, or you'll be stuck in a rock in a hard place, just like they say.
Right from its mouth.
That's why you never look a gift horse in the butthole.
In the anus. Yeah.
I gotta pee. Do your thing.
All right, go ahead.
We'll go back. We'll rewind just a little bit, Jimmy, because I know that you threw something my way about Mixer. So rewinding back to what Jimmy, he said his piece about Mixer, and I think you're 100% right, Jimmy. This is profound. It's amazing.
Wow. This time. This time.
I think it's good in any platform to have competition, and I think that pretty much goes without saying. It's good to have another place that pressures your platform to do better, because if there's no competition, like with Facebook, they typically could go down a path that is negative, and then the platform turns into dog shit. And I think if there was other places for people to go that were as good as Facebook, people would have moved off of that platform pretty quickly as soon as they started to disagree with them violating their privacy, right? So I think with Mixer, it's the exact same thing. Or DLive or any of these platforms. Like I want them to be successful, so then Twitch can no longer take advantage of the people that are using this platform. They steal more than half of the revenue from affiliates, and they steal half of the money from partners for the money that they are earning from people that are supporting them and not supporting the platform. It is imperative that competition takes place when it comes to live streaming, because without it, it is not a healthy environment for people to strive as content creators, which plays in part with exactly what you said. So I think it's also sad. I feel it's kind of terrible in a way for some of the people that I knew that streamed on Mixer. There's a few of them, obviously, but like I feel bad because like I couldn't imagine a world where all of a sudden imagine Twitch disappears. Our ability to our community basically is looking. We're looking for a new place to produce content, and in a lot of cases with Mixer, they are separating the audience onto different platforms, whether that's YouTube, whether that's Twitch, wherever they want to return. To create a simulation. If Twitch went under and we wanted to go to a different platform, and Knacker's like, hey, we're gonna go over to YouTube, but Jimmy and I are like, hey, we want to go over to DLive. Just even figuring that out would be, it's a bit of pressure, and it's unfair.
I actually do have a DLive stream.
You really? Oh.
Yeah, it is for my special Patreon subscribers that have access to my DLive stream.
Yeah.
Say spray on subscribers?
It's an unlisted DLive stream that I send my Patreon subscribers.
Your what?
Linked. Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon?
Patreon.
You never heard of Patreon?
Patreon.
There you go.
Patreon.
All right. Easy
Patreon.
there.
Tomato.
I just didn't want anyone to go out and make a GIF of you saying that.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I didn't make a GIF.
Do GIFs have audio, Knackers?
They do. Audible
what
GIFs.
What are you talking about peanut butter for, man?
By the way, DLive is a thing of the past.
Is it good? Wait, it's still up?
No, PewDiePie sold that shit.
DLive. But it still exists.
Right. I don't think it's going to for very much longer.
So this kind of goes back to the whole Twitch situation. I want to see competition for Twitch. It's sad that Mixer went under, but I think with a lot of these brands, what you guys have to understand is that they might literally copycat the exact same platform. Like DLive is almost an exact ripoff of what Twitch is. It's almost nearly a direct ripoff. There's different things, but it's the same idea. It's streaming games on a platform, video. You navigate from the category of the game down to the streamer, and it's all based on viewership. It's a similar system, similar chat, just like Mixer was, right? It's a similar idea. Some companies literally go through the process of building these brands to grab onto a 2 or 3% market share, just so then they can hope to sell to the big players in the market like Facebook or Twitch. That is their strategy. So what sucks is that the streamers, the people that are producing content that are building the communities on these platforms that think that that's where their community exists, they are the ones in the end result that get used up, right? So like people on Mixer, if they didn't communicate with their audience, which they have a month to do so, but if they don't, maybe someone took a break for a month and now they have no way of finding your channel. That you know what I mean? Like in my case, if Twitch disappeared, I haven't streamed in 9 months, so like people maybe they wouldn't know where to find me. So yeah, I definitely think it's sad. It's unfortunate, but it's part of the business. There's going to be new ones that pop up. There's going to be old ones that go. Things are going to change over time. And nothing is better for Twitch than competition, because I think we've all seen where Twitch has gone wrong. And if there's no other platform to compete with them, there wouldn't be these opportunities for someone like Twitch or for someone like Ninja or Shroud to step outside of the realm of possibility and sign like a multi-million-dollar contract. That's something that was unheard of before Mixer came into the market. So
right.
just the fact that they're changing the world of streaming for better for the content creators is good. And it's sad to see one go, but I think it's also good for the greater brand of game streaming to come back to less options, so the audience is less spread out. I think that's also going to be a positive outcome of that. But
if you both had to put your money into the Facebook pot or the YouTube pot, as far as which one of those was going to stand up and be a contender against Twitch, where would you put your bank?
I'd put it in YouTube.
I would put it in, if I had to pick one, it depends. If it's versing, if it's directly in competition with Twitch with gaming content, I would say YouTube. If it was just live streaming in general, I would say Facebook.
Okay. I don't know how many users Facebook has daily. I know it's a fuck ton. But obviously it's kind of hard to compare. We were talking about this stat on my Saturday stream. Twitch daily has 6 million unique users online at any given time in between those 24 hours. Just the gaming section of YouTube has 200 million unique users on in a single day. Just the gaming portion of YouTube, which aren't they still, they merged their gaming app with the regular YouTube app, right? And are they still working on like a separate sub platform, or is it is what it is right now and nothing is supposed to change?
I don't know. I think that's I'm actually not sure regarding that, but I think that's an interesting question based on what Jimmy brought up earlier, where it's Twitch got to the market first, right? So it's what you expect when you come to this platform is to watch some sort of gaming content, right? That's what you initially thought you were going to come to this platform to watch, and now maybe you don't see that, but you see some other stuff. But I think that is a benefit in Twitch's realm for this game streaming. As long as they stay on the path of doing that, they will be the player in the space, as we've seen. But when it comes to YouTube, I mean, when you first people's perception is a very, very, very hard thing from a marketing standpoint to change. That is the most expensive thing to change, is when there's a perception of an audience. It's hard to actually convince them different. So like YouTube, you're expecting to go watch VOD content. You're not expecting to go watch live video on YouTube. And as like myself, I can only speak from my own experience. But like, if I wanted to go to YouTube, if I typed in YouTube, I would literally be looking at either content that answers a question for me, or maybe catching up with someone I follow, like Casey Neistat. But in most cases, if I want to watch someone live and communicate in real time, I would open either Twitch or Discord.
Yeah, like I don't even know where to look. And that's what's always kind of confused me about YouTube's live platform is, where do I go for the live content? Do I go to their channel and just see if they're live? Is there a particular part of their channel where I can subscribe to live notifications? Do I have to subscribe to all live all notifications? I just don't know. It's never been like, YouTube has never come out and said, hey, this is our live portion of our website, and this is how we want to do it. Like, they've never really come out and really diversified that part of the market, which I've always found really weird. But I guess I assume that they don't have to, or they feel that they don't have to.
It's a huge negative, because in their search algorithm currently, because they're not separating live and video, if you search something that you would typically search, like I just looked up racing, there's a subtle differentiation between the search algorithm between VOD content and live content. And if they start preferring, based on the algorithm, live content over VOD content, it will become inherently more difficult to find VOD content on YouTube, which will be an issue with their platform in general. So I think the fact that they're not separating the two actually creates more issues than it solves by having them together. So like the first video that I see when I search racing is a F1 Rewind. So it's a Formula One race. And then after that, there's 2 live streams. One of them is Mega Ramp Car Stunts Races 3D Impossible Games Ambulance Racing Android Gameplay. 954 people are watching live. And then it's something similar, the third one, and then it goes back into VODs with people talking about racing. But the thing is that if they're preferring streaming content in the search, that's where the people's eyes are going to go, and then that's going to keep them in the live side of the platform. So like if you click on a link for a live stream, you'll be in that stream, and then it'll offer you other live streams to watch. And then underneath that, it's actually VOD content that you can watch.
Okay.
So that could actually pose an issue for the main priority for YouTube as a platform, because if they prioritize live streaming over what YouTube is, which is a VOD content platform, it could actually hurt the content creators that are trying to find, already having difficulties being found on YouTube in general.
Jimmy, when you think about going to YouTube for live content, like if you were to go to YouTube in search of live content, what's like the first thing that you think of?
Retro?
Really?
Like what? I don't know. I have no idea what the retro scene on. I've never honestly looked to YouTube for gaming content.
So let me rephrase. Not even gaming content. So if somebody was to say, "Hey, NASA is going to be live streaming this certain event," or there is a Republican candidate that is going to be streaming their sermon, what platform do you think of going to first?
Twitch.
You really think about going to Twitch first?
Yeah.
See, I would think about going to YouTube first.
Well, it depends on what it is, obviously. Non-gaming,
what do
but
you got in your mouth there, bud?
ice.
A little ice
This is
cube?
my ice from my. There was still whiskey on the ice.
It's fine. I believe you. All
right. Anyway, no, there's actually a lot of freaking shit, like even politics on YouTube now, man. Like you can find that sort of stuff. No, I hear what you're saying. I'll usually just honestly, if something's going on that I want a live stream of, I usually will just put it into Google and I'll see what shows up, because oftentimes it'll show you the links of what platforms are showing it right out the gate.
What would you search? What would you search if you were trying to, let's say you're trying to find a politician speaking? What would you search on Google to be able to find the live stream? Would you actually like Joe Schmo live? Would you
like you could type in the name of the politician and then speech at the time, and usually it would put it in, or just type in the name, because usually if you click, and even if it doesn't pop up in the first thing, if you're clicking on the news, wherever it's being broadcasted, it's going to show.
Right.
I mean, almost always they have the links to whatever. So I think Twitch is becoming more, obviously YouTube far and away for most broadcasts. It's a step above for like, politician stuff, but Twitch is becoming more all encompassing. It's not where near where YouTube is yet. It doesn't have the same viewership or reach, but it's becoming a platform, I think, that's becoming more normalized, and a lot more so than people are thinking. There's been so much exponential growth, and I'm actually sad because I'm looking at the time and I don't see how we can hit the last topic we were talking about, dude. I just don't see it happening tonight.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise we'll be here till pretty late. But
do you got to wake up early tomorrow?
No, I mean, I'm on vacation. I mean,
that's right. Okay.
I am gonna have to get another drink though. If we're going there, then I'm gonna have to get another drink.
I don't have a specific thing that I want to bring up regarding all the sexual assault stuff, but I feel like I should talk about it. Because I feel like I sort of have a responsibility to talk about it because of how fucking massive it is.
Here's the thing. We all, I felt the same when all the BLM stuff was going on and people were rioting and stuff. And I think when something first pops up, immediate response is emotional. But I think in most cases, we formulate opinions over time and we become more precise with our thoughts. So I think it would be a positive thing to go over it, but we can also return to it. Just because we cover it on this podcast lightly doesn't mean that it means that we can, we're like, okay, well, we checked that box off. We can skip over to the next one. Yeah. So maybe, obviously it's, I think that we all have the same, do you guys just want to hop into it?
Might as well, dude. Honestly, we're here. I don't mind addressing it now, and we can continue this on the next one. Might as well. We're done talking about fucking Mixer anyway. Who gives a shit?
Dead fucking meme.
Not the streamers, just the platform.
Just the platform.
I want to clarify that.
Go grab another beer, Jimmy. I'm gonna use the bathroom.
Yep.
Knackers talk to himself.
Yeah, no. What would be good here is to go back, to go back and just present the what the situation is from a top-down level, back from the beginning of what the accusations not necessarily were, but what caused them to come out, and then the overwhelming amount of posts that followed that kind of brought light to this whole situation.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go downstairs, use the bathroom, and grab some more whiskey. I'm going to secretly be listening to you on my phone.
Okay.
Back quick.
Okay. Now you know it's sneaky.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
I know you're
But-
sneaking. Sneaky Sneakerson.
I'm gonna be sneaky.
We'll be back.
Wax that stash while you're down there, Jimbo.
Do you want me to really? I
Do you-
can get
do
a
you
little
wax it at all?
sheen in the- I don't use wax. I use a balm.
Pomade.
I'm telling you, man, it made all the difference in the world because I was itching like a motherfucker before I started getting the balm on there.
Do you ever like go to sleep and you suddenly get one of the hairs that starts going up your nose? You're like, oh, motherfucker.
It's usually not when I'm going to sleep. It's like just at random times in the day, and then all of a sudden I'm like, ah. It's like an insect just went up my nose all of a sudden. I'm like, ah. And then it's actually me. It's just my nose hair, and then I disgust myself, and then I walk away.
Your upper lip pubes.
Yeah. Well, it was like my wife. Like my wife's been buzzing my hair, and she finally and she told me, she's like, I'm totally okay with trying to give you a regular haircut. And I told her to buzz it earlier because I was like, we got enough shit to worry about. I don't want you to worry about, fine. But yes, she's like, I really think I can do it. I'm like, all right, next time try. If you fuck it up, then just buzz it off. You know what I mean? I mean, who gives a shit?
So she fucked up?
Yeah. She tried. She was like, well, I think we got to buzz your hair. I'm like, all right, go ahead.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
All right, I'll be back. All
right.
Go ahead. We didn't talk about anything you suggested, but we did have a good time. Oh, you always have your little Bluetooth wheelies in.
Yeah, I can hear everything
You
you,
hear
guys
everything.
are saying. Yeah, peeing, pooping, whatever. I can
Okay.
hear it. Yeah.
Burbs.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that a lot of people that watch this show are not necessarily fully ingrained in the Twitch ecosphere. That's Jimmy dancing back there. That's a GIF right there, man.
That's a yeef.
Yeet. So I know that there are a lot of people that watch streams but don't necessarily I don't expect viewers to be so ingrained in the ecosystem, to know everything that's going on and to follow all of the big streamers and to follow all these stories and this drama. So I don't fault anybody for not really knowing what's going on, but I agree with Bishop. It's good to kind of set the stage. So about a week or two ago, there was a woman from I don't know if she was a content creator or not. I think she was a streamer. And she had put out a tweet saying, all of you people are, I can't remember the exact tweet. Basically, she was calling out somebody who was on top of the directory, but had a history of sexual assault and sexual harassment against a not a majority, but a long list of women in the Destiny community. And it was somebody who had been a survivor of the sexual assault as well. And through her talking with her friend groups and getting an immeasurable amount of support from all of her friends and family, she decided to come out with this story regarding her experience surviving the sexual assault from this top Destiny streamer. And it turns out, and I have no problem saying his name, Say No to Rage is the streamer and has since, exited social media. He hasn't been seen in a long time. A lot of women have come out, and there are crazy amounts of people that are backing the stories. And while he's admitting to certain things, he's denying other things. Regardless, it created this snowball effect, a good one, in my opinion, of all of these other women, majority, coming out regarding all of their sexual assault stories with people in the industry. And this started in the Destiny community, and then this broke out into the content creation community, and then even past that, it started branching out into other communities as well. And if you're not living under a rock and you have some sort of social media, you know that there is a very large Me Too movement that was started a couple years ago of women coming out with their sexual assault stories. And it I hate to say that it blew up, right? Because blowing up kind of says that it's a bad thing. And I don't necessarily think that it is a bad thing, because there are a lot of incredibly shitty people that have done so many shitty things, and it's kind of caused like this massive tsunami throughout the entire industry. And it's just been I've never felt like so much disgust, and I've never been so sad, and I have felt like so much pain for somebody else. Like just seeing all of these stories and seeing how many people have been survivors of stuff like this and how long it's been going on. It's just fucking, it's heart-wrenching right now. And it's on top of everything else that's going on, again, like everybody just being in an emotional state. It's fucking insane. And what's going on?
It's exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on is not specific to the Twitch community. It's not specific to the content creation ecosystem. This is something that goes on absolutely everywhere. But growing up in this community, you think that we maybe had our head on our shoulders a little bit better than other places, right? We kind of had like this faux sense of security where that doesn't happen to us, right? Like we're not like those other people, right? And then it turns out that it's fucking everywhere, and it fucking breaks my heart. So many people that I know, whether it's in association with or, I know personally, I can't even imagine the people that I know very well that haven't come out with their stories up until this point. And obviously there is an insane amount of controversy, based on, yes, okay, statements are just allegations, and allegations aren't proof, and proof can only be made in court, and the whole, we need to believe women first, and there was obviously that whole shit. And honestly, I don't really give a shit about any of that right now. The thing that bothers me the most is that there are people that have been assaulted and harassed and just bullied and silenced because of fear. And it makes me fucking sad. It really does.
Yeah, I think just to kind of touch on what you were saying with like how we feel like we're in a separate community. Like I joined Twitch because literally the time that I started really getting invested in Twitch was when the last election was going on, and people just were so invested in that and just fucking would shut the hell up. And like everyone made that their life, and it just was like, it's not something that I cared about. It's not something that I was invested in. It's not something that affects me being Canadian. I just don't give a fucking shit, right? Like I know that a lot of people have power to vote. I don't. So it's something that if I spend my time getting all stressed out about, it literally doesn't affect me. So like, that's what coming into Twitch, it was a place that felt that it was, void of these issues that, or like talking about politics or race, religion. It was just a place that in general, people can come together and talk about video games. And I miss that part about Twitch. I feel like we've deviated in a way. This is different than that. Definitely worth stating, but I feel like we've deviated from that and become overwhelmingly or started moving in the direction of being political. And I think it's worth stating that with where we are right now, this isn't that, right? Like we have to, like you were mentioning the Me Too movement and how women came out, and basically there were some women that came out that didn't necessarily have concrete evidence or were disproven based on the allegations that they made. Yes, allegations are allegations without proof. But that is a extreme minority of people that come out, and we shouldn't base our decisions to support other women that have truthfully come out with evidence against people that have sexually abused them based on a minority of people that are using this as their platform
for clout chasing,
or to take out a personal vendetta.
Yeah.
Okay. So
like
the idea,
I'm going to interrupt you for a second, and I want to say one perfect example of that. I think. This is my own personal opinion. Future Man's ex-girlfriend, when all this was going on, when all this whole thing started, I don't know if you saw that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like put on blast or whatever, but he's happened to be a really well-known streamer, and that's why I bring him up. And I feel like he's one of the first guys I watched on Twitch. I've followed him on social media for years. And I'm not saying it's impossible but like a lot of the stuff that she was claiming, it wasn't like sexual harassment or abuse. It was just a relationship gone wrong.
Right.
And it was I was starting to see some of that, and it really took away from. I think that's what Elliot is talking about. It took away from the most kind of the important things that were coming out. People were it diluted the message quite a bit, and that made things difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm making this statement. Because we tend to focus on an extreme minority of cases where something disproves what is the greater image of what's happening. And I think we have to remember, yes, it is like Summit tweeted the other day something that was relatively tone deaf to the situation and saying that allegations are just allegations, and that on the internet, you're guilty until proven innocent on the internet. And I think it's very important to realize that you have to take a position. Obviously, there are circumstances where some people are pieces of shit, and they take certain things that happen, whether it be the BLM movement or these allegations that are coming out, as a ship to push their own narrative and to take control of it in a way that it is negative, right? And they tell lies and whatever. That is not the overwhelming majority of what is happening with these women coming out. That is not what these women are. That's not the standard that they should be held to. And yes, evidence is very important, but it is also important to remember that because all of this is happening, we can't be a community that just shuts the door based on allegations from people that are pieces of shit that lie or perpetuate things that might not necessarily be true. We have to be supportive of people, but also it is imperative that we can be supportive, but also seek the truth in things that happen, whether or not we agree with something that the person is claiming. I'm
kind of glad you said that, because that was kind of something that I was afraid to say. And I will admit, with COVID, with Black Lives Matter, and now with this situation, there have been times where I have just been afraid to have the conversation, because I'm, of course, afraid of what people think of my opinion. And not that I have outlandish opinions, but I think about, okay, I'm a white male that grew up in America. Like, what opinions do I have that are complete shit just because of how I was grown up and how I was exposed to things, right? And that's definitely a fear of mine. And I am 100% on the side of believe women. However, I don't think it makes you a terrible person to believe women, but still leave a part of your brain open for the other side of the story as well. It doesn't mean that you have to discharge completely what I don't want to say woman to say that they are always the ones that are the ones being abused. It's primarily women right now, at least in our industry, but it's both sides. I never want to say that, I'm just going to blindly believe whatever the survivor is going through. So I kind of felt shitty for feeling that way, but it's like, it feels wrong to just blindly go to one side. But if you say that, especially on Twitter, within 280 characters.
I kind of look at this in the same sort of way, like, and this is going to be an extreme example, and it's not exactly apples to apples, but when this whole thing started, when I'm talking about the Me Too movement, like, I want to go ahead and preface this by saying I more or less came to the realization, I've already known this about myself. I know all about white privilege, especially white male privilege. It's something that I discuss with my students about in school, and about myself and how they're just statistically saying it's been easier for me to do certain things in my life just by virtue of the fact that I'm a white male. Okay. And I shared the data with them. This particular situation, when this all started to happen, and I started to see these stories that were showing up on social media, and a lot of them were streamers that I knew of initially, or some that I didn't. And then I think where things turned for me, where it turned from just these stories, where my mind changed, was when I started seeing friends of mine And a lot of these streamers that I knew personally that were coming forward with these stories, and I know them, and they have absolutely zero reason to put these things out except to support and to verify also what these other people are experiencing. And for me last week, my brain exploded. I had a conversation with my wife about it.
Yep.
I knew that these things were happening. I didn't realize just how bad it was. I didn't realize that it was happening. It wasn't just a handful of things. Like in my sheltered mind, I always thought that these things were happening to maybe statistics. I don't look at statistics a lot because you know you can skew to statistics. But I'd be willing to bet money that by the time a woman is 18 years old, she's probably not just been sexual. If she's lucky, she's only been sexually harassed a handful of times by the time she's 18. And if you look, I'm not trying to turn this just about females. I know it happens to men too. But if you look at the data, it's overwhelmingly men towards women than vice versa. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't happen the other way. So my brain it literally exploded. I had a lot of long conversations with my wife about it, and then she was just like, I'm glad that you understand now. Just kind of like I was starting to come to the realization about how mental health is an issue when I was having mental health problems because I never had any. You know? Yeah. You don't really know until you kind of immerse yourself into. And I never really got immersed because I didn't know a lot of people that personal to me that were having those things. It was always a story that I'd heard about maybe an acquaintance or something like that. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling on and on here.
No, you're right. You're right.
The point I was trying to make was the reason why I think it went to social media and to Twitter is kind of the same reason for what was going on when recently in prisons. I don't know if I know Knackers, you watched last week tonight. I don't know if you watched last week's about the prisons and COVID and all that.
I didn't.
And these prisoners that are risking. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I get prisoners. You know, people did bad things. They go to jail. They go to prison. You know, for years at a time. They're having these massive COVID outbreaks right now in prisons across the United States because you know people live in really close quarters, and they're risking further years in prison or additional punishments by using contraband phones to put the situations that are in out to the public.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like I feel like that's what women had to deal with. It's like we have no other choice. There's no other outlet. You go to the police, nothing happens. You go to the boss of someone, nothing happens. So what is the only thing that these victims have left to do? Let's just fucking lay it all out there on social media and expose these people to the world. And that's what's causing action. And it's hard to talk about. It's something that I have struggled mightily with for a variety of reasons. And even seeing that I was part of the problem and for a lot of my life. Because not saying I'm going out and necessarily sexually assaulting women. Mm-hmm. But if I'm being real with myself, have I sexually harassed a woman over the years and not necessarily intentionally?
Right.
But some of the things that I've just kind of said inadvertently as a joke or whatever. Right. If I'm being real with myself, yes. Yeah. That's part of the culture that I've kind of grown up in. And that's something that's changed obviously in recent years. But if I'm being real, I was in the Army for 8 years, man. I mean, your shirt says macho man masculinity there.
Yeah. So I think that's Jimmy. I think that point that you just made is really important because regardless of the long term or the resolution of what of these accusations that came out for the woman, what it's doing for our community in general is it's pulling us back into reality to realize that each action that we make towards these other individuals, we have to be more compassionate about the other person. And I think that we have this culture, and like it's worth stating, we have a culture in the United States that is this hookup culture, which is predominant, right? You see TikTokers and Instagram models and all this shit going on, and we're perpetuating this ideology of like, hey, fuck someone and then move on, right? Like that's a part of our culture within certain communities. And it's created this environment that is super negative surrounding sexuality just in general. And it's created a lot of these situations that that have led to this in general. Whether or not the positives of that culture outweigh the negatives, it's a stupid even discussion. But it's like, I think myself, and what I'm taking away from this is that I reflect a lot on the decisions that I've made, like as a kid, right? We're not really educated on sex, right? Either when you go down the route of being educated, understanding what sexuality is and how you go through the process of meeting a woman and then moving into sexuality, right? And like moving into having sexual intercourse. We don't ever talk about how to take steps to validate whether or not the person has given you consent, right? And it's something that I feel like we're in a terminal position in general as a society, that we don't teach our kids how to do that. So they're relying on media and things that, their own experiences to be able to develop.
Porn.
And porn, right?
And that's a whole nother can of worms, because porn, if you've never had sex before and you're watching a porn video to figure out how it all works, your expectations aren't going to be very realistic.
My stepmom got stuck in a washing machine.
Did she get stuck? Did your stepsister get stuck under the bed?
Yeah. So like what I'm taking from that, and kind of where I'm going with that, is that I think that because of that, like, I'm reflecting on all of my sexual experiences this week, right? And thinking, like, I haven't ever done anything that I put someone in jeopardy, which I'm proud to say. And it sucks because there's fucking assholes that are pieces of shit that take advantage of people on both sides, women and men. They're fucking pieces of shit, and it's reprehensible behavior. But it makes me think to myself, like, as I was developing, and this kind of goes on the other side of the discussion of, like, like, as I was developing, there was really awkward situations where, like, I would make a move and kiss a girl, right? And then she would push me back or
on
say,
the
like,
lips.
Yeah, where, like, that is a super awkward situation. But, like, as I developed, like, I found different ways of trying to find what consent meant. And I feel like people on Twitch, like, within the gaming community, and maybe I'm making a generalization. You guys can correct me if I am on Twitter or whatever, but I feel like a lot of us are sheltered on Twitch, right? Like, our connection with it's complicated, but, like, our connection with the people of other sex is limited to what we're saying in messages and stuff like that. And I feel like we lose a lot of that opportunity to create our own experiences and learn from them, right? And as a person myself, like, this week has made me reflect.
You're a person?
Yeah, I'm a human being.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
As
a person myself, continue.
I think that the positive is that it's making me think that, obviously I have an amazing girlfriend that I have no plans of, like, I love her. Okay. But it makes me think to myself that, maybe, in the future or whatever, or in another life, I need to be more careful with, like, how I indulge in finding out if someone is consenting to what I'm doing, right? Like, I want to better myself as a person so I can replicate that, so then other people can feel more safe, is kind of what I'm trying to get to. And I don't think we do that enough as a society. We don't teach men or women how to tell if people are consenting. So we rely on, like, either like yes or no, and that it's so much more complicated than that. And I think we really need to go into, because a lot of people just rely on religion. They just say, okay,
it doesn't get into, and I'll tell you right now, what you're saying, it doesn't get as simple as yes or no until you really are in a trusting and committed relationship for some time, because there's too many other factors involved. I've been married, it'll be 13 years this year to my wife. And we've gotten to the point where we can easily go up to each other, and I can say to my wife, "Sexy time later," and she'll say, "Yeah," or she'll go, "Mm-mm." I mean, and it's a simple yes or no. And I don't even have to say. And then if she says, I don't ask why, because there are times when she says to me, and I'm saying, and it's because maybe I had 3 chimichangas and I just blew up the back, and I can't be doing the ramba. But it doesn't. You don't get to that level of intimacy anywhere close when you're younger, for one, because your brain hasn't developed enough. And I'm not hating on younger people, it's just that's the way it is. You haven't fully developed. And number 2, you haven't developed the intimacy in a relationship. And it doesn't matter. I'm not saying even gender doesn't matter, because it's the same way with, it can be the same way with homosexual relationships, heterosexual relationships. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So the intimacy you're talking about, where you can get to an understanding consent, it is very complex, because it's when you're young, people, you can be coerced into doing something even though you don't actually consent to it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. So
Jimmy, I want to ask you a question because I see a lot of similarities between me and you. And there's this hilarious meme of I think the whole joke is like vanilla white people in sex. Do you also say thank you afterwards?
Hey, good one. Hey, that was a really nice one.
Actually, you know what? Not right afterwards, but usually like after, like it's usually like it's kind of like an athlete thing. Like I'll be going into if it's morning sex, I'll like go into the kitchen. My wife's making breakfast, and I'll like give a little slap on the ass, like "good game, champ," sort of thing, and like kind of like a knowing wink while my kid's just clueless on his iPad eating cereal. I'm like, yeah, I just freaking got up in that. You know what I mean? But so yes, I guess to answer your question, that was probably way more detail than any of you guys needed. I'm
no,
really
that's
sorry
exactly
about
what
that.
I wanted. But the reason that I asked that question, aside from the joke and the similarities, is I remember always getting made fun of because when I would tell my friends that I asked the girl that I wanted to kiss if I could kiss her, always got made fun of. Like, bro,
That's because
you
your
fucking
friends
asked
are
me?
idiots.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
And to Bishop's point, that was just how I felt. That's not necessarily what was taught.
Yeah,
you know?
no, and that because if you're not taught, how can you know?
Right.
And peer pressure is a real thing, and there's so many factors to all this.
Right.
I guess I want to sum my. We're gonna go around and around a few more times, I'm sure. But I guess when I was getting at earlier, and one of the main things that I wanted to say, and I'm not sure why I'm making a Hadouken right now, but
Blasting
make
us
it
off.
work. This last week was a real big eye opener for me. And I'm not to say that I didn't know that these things didn't exist. It's not. I just didn't quite understand how bad it was for women, in particular. And it gave me a new appreciation and really opened my eyes about not just what's going on out there, but the things that I'm saying and doing. Right. So in that regard, like Bishop, you said, I'm not glad that these things happen. I'm glad that these things are coming out and that this conversation is happening. I'm glad that there's people that are having these uncomfortable conversations. And I would be lying to you if I said that I look forward to having this conversation today. I mean, I look forward to talking to you guys. It's not something I look forward to discussing. Right. But it's a necessary conversation.
Absolutely.
And I love the way you said that this isn't something we want to gloss over. This is something that's so big. This is, it's not like I'm not going to try and compare this to No Man's Sky, but we talked about No Man's Sky in a million episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think this is something that's going to go away overnight. I think there's going to be ripple effects in what started this last week in the industry for a long time. And I think that's good. I think that's good.
I think that that's a good correlation. No Man's Sky. It's a total piece of shit. No one wanted to talk about because it was terrible. No one wanted to. It was just a scary thing to touch on because it was just something people did just genuinely looked away from. And I think that in general, I'm not the most articulate person. Sometimes I formulate my ideas while I'm talking. Very often.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, but I think it's exactly like No Man's Sky. We don't have a resolution to these problems, but to merely bring them up and then gloss over them, and then 6 months from now it comes back up would be a discredit to the women that have come out that have truthful and validated points, right? I think that what we need to do as a society is really, this is part of human nature, right? Like, this isn't something that we should merely gloss over, but potentially look for a way to better ourselves in general, right? Whether it be as simple as trying to find new ways to validate consent, right? Like, how do we go down that road of regarding sexuality, how do we find out whether or not, because it's a natural thing, like how do we understand if a woman wants something or not, right? Like as men, like you guys mentioned, in a relationship now, it's a lot easier, just like, hey, like,
I want to clarify something because I need to address this from Amber in chat.
Yeah.
I am not saying sexual assault is like No Man's Sky, and neither is Bishop.
No.
I am saying, and I know we're saying the whole situation in the sense that it's something on the podcast we were going to continue talking about. That's the only correlation.
Yeah,
No Man's Sky.
exactly.
That's
yeah,
all.
sexual assault is not like
There's nothing like No Man's Sky.
yeah.
But this is why we had the caveat before, because I didn't want to be.
It's something that if we just threw it in we just completely put it off and did not give it the time that it needed for us to formulate a solution or some sort of positive outcome or something as a society that we could positively do in the future, we would not have. It's something that's just going to come up and it's going to be rotation. So it's can I
say something right now?
Yeah.
I was going to say it anyway, even if you said yes or no.
Yeah.
I want to say this. I think that this is a conversation that we should have a panel.
Yeah.
I think this would be really good to bring on some respected women to the forefront where we can ask some questions and let some women do some of the talking in the future. I would love to do a podcast where we can feature some female streamers or whoever would feel comfortable enough to join the podcast. I would like to do that. I would love to hear a female's perspective. I think that would be good. I would love to be able to ask some questions to a female perspective. 100%. As opposed to you fucking idiots.
Right.
Thank you.
If that's something that Knackers, you think that you would like, I would love. I don't know if Amber could dust off the microphone. Maybe, I'd love to hear someone like Amber. I don't know if Casey'd be interested. I don't know if Twinnie be. I mean, I would love to hear. I feel like we could do something good with an episode. If we really wanted to give this the attention it deserves, I think that would be. I'm not trying to tell you to do your show, Knackers.
No. I know that. And like you mentioned before, there are a couple things that all of this stuff has done recently. You have seen a large boom of people accepting the conversation regarding politics in their stream, where all of these people that used to say, no politics whatsoever, I don't want to talk about it, where you're seeing a lot of people start to take responsibility for those words and actually incorporate politics into their discussions on stream. You are starting to see the same thing with sexual harassment and sexual assault. It is now becoming... I hate to say that it's now becoming the norm, because it should have been the fucking norm like forever. But it is becoming a part of everybody's conversation, which is the best thing that could happen right now, because it's been something that has been backburnered for so long. And again, the reason I put out the disclaimer at the beginning of this podcast is because this is 5 weeks of none of us talking to each other and coming back after all of our worlds being turned completely upside down, both personal and hobby worlds, and we're just trying to talk through this and kind of learn, because we don't know what we don't know, and I don't fault either of you for admitting either of those things. Right. So and that's just how it goes. So
yeah, I think what I mean to go back to Amber's point about No Man's Sky is that we could just continue to, as a society, brush these things underneath the rug, which is seemingly what we do, just as far as timelines are concerned. With, if you look at Black Lives Matter or with sexual misconduct in workplaces or whatever it is, we tend to we address it for a short term and then we sweep it under the rug and we don't have discussions about it. And I think that the important thing is to normalize the discussion so then we can come to a realistic resolution, so then something good can come out of it for the people that are most affected. And I think that going back to the allegations and how I brought up how a lot of people are focusing on like the people that might not have concrete stories or whatever it is, and using that as they're taking a small minority and generalizing it across the entire amount of people that are coming out and saying, oh, well, this person was wrong here, so maybe you guys are wrong as well. That's just an idiotic way to approach things, right? So for me, it would be better to be able to communicate, like to talk about these things and to be able to approach them, because otherwise as a society we tend to just brush things past us and just move on, and then it comes back up and we're like, well, why didn't we ever come up with a resolution to this? And it seems like one of the main things that we need to do as a society is just to really understand these things instead of just relying on religion or race or politics to be able to answer a question for us, and really just look at it from a fundamental of humanity and human beings and how we act.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sick and it sucks and it's shitty, and no one wants to sit and talk about it for it takes a lot out of us. No one wants to sit and talk about it for an entire podcast, but I think it's important to do it and to shed light on it, because there are people that are being jeopardized that don't want to talk about it and that don't want to bring eyes to the situations that they were once in, as whether it be related to this community or not. And I think it's also worth stating that this isn't an overwhelming thing that's happening with a lot of, like, with everyone in this community, but the people that are being jeopardized, we have to treat them in a way that we support them, and we hopefully come to a resolution. Because if someone that sexually took advantage of me, if I was on a platform, they took advantage of me, and then all of a sudden when I pulled up the platform that I called home, they were on the front page, I would feel completely like shit.
Right.
And I think it's important to not deplatform people, but to remove people that have done people wrong, or to penalize them for their actions and not reward them, and put their victims at risk.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Naggers, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's I lost it.
I was gonna say, and I don't normally look at chat as much as I do on podcasts as I have been tonight, just by virtue of the fact of the topics we've been dealing with, because it's easy to get distracted sometimes for you guys, and I want to keep attention. But I have been actively monitoring chat because I'm curious about some of the things here. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what you do. And the reason why people don't want to talk about a lot of this stuff is because I honestly, afterwards, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
You don't feel good. You don't have these conversations because these aren't something normal people talk about and feel good afterwards. You feel like shit because you're thinking about the victims. You're thinking about the terrible situation the world is in. It's shitty.
Yeah.
But how do you make a change if you just ignore it like that? It's been done. Nothing's going to change if you just ignore it and let it go. So instead, we've got to get it out in the open, and men like myself, my responsibility is going to be raising awareness to other men and recognizing if I see a man that's exhibiting behavior that I think is not right, that I'm going to see as a man, then I need to act on that instead of just letting it go.
Right.
You know
For sure.
what I mean? And I'll be honest. I mean, I've witnessed plenty of, not sexual assault personally, but I've witnessed plenty of sexual harassment in my life that I did nothing to stop, and sadly, in some cases, laughed with the rest of the group, and I'm ashamed of that. I'm ashamed of that because that's not who I am today. But I'm comfortable enough to admit that I've said and done some stupid things and laughed and done some stupid things in the past. That's not okay. Yep. And I need to change that mentality, and hopefully I can be. I'm hoping my job as a man is to help change the culture, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Definitely,
and to be my role to try and help change it. I mean, I feel like that's the only thing I can do and that I should be doing. So,
and a lot of it too is for people, they feel like they're putting their careers on the line, right? Where us, to me,
sorry, I had to do
it's all good.
You did it to me a couple weeks ago. So.
I know. Well, it's fucking hilarious when you do it.
Okay. Sorry.
A lot of these people, they're like, man, I don't really know if I want to bring this up, because talking about these things brings up a divider. It brings up emotion. It brings up conflict between people, and it makes people uncomfortable. So that's why most people just kind of deviate away from it. And that's why I respect both of you so much, both of you, because you are willing to have these conversations out in the open while other people are watching, and for this to be documented on the internet forever. And that takes a lot of balls. It really does. And you know, that's not saying that
for calling it 20 years from now, people are gonna be like, hey, he said that sexual assault's the same as no man's.
Yeah. You guys will never live that down.
I was gonna take away from this fucking idiot. I'm like, no, that's not what I was.
That's not
Whatever.
That was a really bad
That's
analogy.
not what I was saying. I'm saying we're gonna talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
and that's exactly what I mean. Hence the disclaimer beforehand and the conversation. Like I said, us just talking about things is going to bring up certain conversations like that. So I understand it, but like I said, we're all just dudes that are trying to be better. We are trying to figure out what we are doing wrong, bringing up past experiences and conversations to overanalyze, and I mean overanalyze what we've done in the past that might have been unacceptable, what we might even be doing now. Because like you admitted to before, Jimmy, there's shit that you maybe did beforehand. It wasn't a conscious decision that we're like, yes, I am going to be on this side of the sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where it happened, you reacted. It's just how you were at that time. And there's nothing that you can do about that. What we can do now is bring as much attention to it as possible, hold each other accountable for these types of things, and just try to move forward, and while keeping the past in mind, because there's no reason that we should just forget everything in the past, because that's a bunch of bullshit. We need to reflect on it and try to be better, because there are people out there that need our support now. And I don't want to say more than ever, because they've always needed it, but it's just now coming to light for a lot of us. And just in the same way that saying, I don't talk about politics, for yoink, I don't talk about politics is kind of irresponsible. And that's how I was. I grew up all the way up till 19 years old, where I was taught, do not get involved with politics whatsoever. You are a man of God. You do not involve yourself in this worldly, earthly planet. There's no reason, because this entire world is going to be destroyed by God's rage in like 20,000 years or some shit. Don't get involved. It took me a long time to shake that mindset that, I don't really want to be involved. I see I see what the government does, and I see how politics divide people and all of the hate. I wanted nothing to do with it. And it wasn't until the past couple of years that I really came around and realized, okay, I have to get on board. It's my responsibility as somebody living in this country to at least acknowledge, understand what's going on, and make my own informed and educated decisions moving forward. Sure. So I'm glad that these conversations are happening, because that same motto, or that same kind of like energy, is now being transformed, or is now being transferred over to the sexual assault, sexual harassment. It's like, okay, no, this is no longer a back burner subject. This is something that is at the forefront of our minds all the time. This is something that we all need to hold each other accountable for, and it's something that we can't ever let slip away ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was well said. Well said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, and the final thing that I'll say, and I know that all of us feel the same way, and I'm not, turning this into a 1-900 or something, but I know the type of person, I know the type of people we are here. Yeah. And I know that we aren't perfect. Neither no one is. But we are definitely people that are in the category of people wanting to support. So
absolutely.
If there was something in this podcast tonight that you strongly disagreed with, that you feel the need that we need to look at, please shoot us a message or something. And I have a feeling this won't be the last time we talk about this at all.
No, definitely not.
But if you want to make a further discussion, I'm very for those of you listening to this in the future, if you are of the opposite gender, of the as they call, which maybe we should reestablish this. Why do they call it the fairer sex? Huh?
You just implied that there was only 2 genders, friend. You got to be careful.
Oh, you're right. There's 10. How many are there now? 12? I don't know.
I'm actually not sure either.
Yeah, there's a lot. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this: it would be good. It would be good to have a different opinion, and I think if you feel strongly about it, please shoot. What's the email, Knackers, for the podcast?
Podcast@knackers.com.
Yes. If you fit that category and you would consider being on it, please reach out to the email or DM one of us. I think that's something we could definitely make happen in a future show. And I think that'd be something that would be really good. I really do. I think having an open conversation with some females, I think, would be enlightening for all of us, and would lend this platform to something that would be good. So.
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted to say there.
No, I appreciate it. I knew that this was going to be a difficult discussion. I knew that it was going to cause emotions to rise. I knew that it was just going to cause conflict. I would have much rather had the conversation than not, because I think it's so incredibly important, and it's something that we just can't sweep under the rug anymore.
No.
You know,
It's hard to get back to the things that we're passionate about when we're being held down by like these things emotionally that are you're like wearing on us. You know what I mean?
Sure. And it's like, when is the right time? Because even though your normal, like your natural thought is like, when can things go back to normal? Which is the wrong thought, because our normal is very unlike other people's normal. When do you deviate from talking about this all the time to trying to talk about gaming half and then this stuff half? And we've got the Black Lives Matter and we've got the COVID, and everybody's looking to their favorite content creators to project what they want to share out into the world and are expecting that from their content. It's a tough spot. It really is. But honestly, it's one of the things that we have to take into consideration being a content creator, because you do have some sort of a responsibility for sure.
Yeah.
Any final points?
No, I think you segued perfectly into Q&A, baby.
All right. We have a couple. I think they're all jokes, but let's just go through them all.
Let's do it. Fucking do it.
First question's from MiddleAgedStream. Go figure. Bishop, how does it feel to become an official member of Toad's Mushroom Kingdom after your most recent haircut?
It's I was getting tired of having long hair, and obviously with the COVID situation, like Casey was cutting it really well. She did a kick-ass job for I think she cut it 2 or 3 times. And then once it gets too long, it's hard to blend and match what the hairdresser was doing. So it becomes more of Casey's haircut than, so she's basically copying her own work. And to be completely honest, despite that, she did a really good job. And I just got to a point where I was like, oh my God, I just want to try it. I've always wanted to cut my hair short. I don't know if I like it. I may have gone a little too short on the top, but it'll get better with time. But Toad is definitely accepting. I'll get my mushroom hat soon. And I'm looking forward to that, because wearing a mushroom hat and driving race car stuff is it plays well together.
That's right. You got the fucking racing sim shit back there. Yeah. That is amazing. All right. Next question from Beer and Headshots. Can we all compare mustaches? I mean, is there even a reason to compare?
I think we need to give Combat some fucking shit right here. You got Combat. I don't know if you're watching. You can put a stream marker right here. I think we should all bring our mustaches up to the webcams so that Combat can splice this out. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Hey, are you with me, Bishop? Mustache up to the webcam. Oh, he's out. He's got zoom. No, I'm going in.
Wait, I'm going deeper.
Oh, you're going that far? I don't know if my light is going to block my stash. Is that good?
Yeah.
That's nice, man.
You see that girth? You see that thickness of mustache?
I'm kind of jelly.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's really nice.
How does your mustache taste, by the way?
Mine?
Yeah.
Like whatever I ate 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Honeycomb and milk.
Yeah.
honeycomb fucking cereal. Is it honeycomb crisp or
No, just honeycomb.
just honeycomb?
Yeah.
I don't eat or buy cereal ever.
I didn't until COVID started.
Oh,
I
really?
used to when I was a kid, and then all of a sudden it just became an easy thing to eat. Now I'm back on eating cereal again
Word. All
for
right.
breakfast. I'm okay with it.
Last question from Beerbalot. Tell what commands the Konami code is composed of in less than 5 seconds.
Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
Right down, left up, R, B, A, X, Y. That's infinite ammo, I think, in GTA.
Alt F4. That's all. That's all I know.
I've put that code in about 1 million times. So.
You know, being somebody who grew up on Nintendo, I actually didn't know of the Konami code until way, way, way later in life.
Really?
Yeah, and I know that
it makes sense though because that was something that really became popular when Contra came out, which is way before you were born. So,
and well, I mean, okay, so I should take that back. Isn't Konami? Didn't they primarily have games on Sega consoles?
No,
or was it not? Okay, then I'm talking out of my ass. I always thought that Konami code was like originated on the Sega side of video games and then made its way over.
It actually originated on the Nintendo side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, this is. I didn't know this thing existed. Is this like it's Konami or Konami? Konami. It's ingrained into every game to give you. It's like a cheat code across all Konami.
You know, I just realized with the way your hair is shaped in your head right now, like you kind of resemble like a number 2 pencil. Like
the eraser side.
Yeah.
You like the top of you kind of look like a little eraser. Like I can imagine like the little pink erasers like your head.
Well,
like you're like I'm gonna start calling you number 2 because you're the shit.
Oh, because it's so flat.
Don't worry, Bishop. It's because Jimmy
whatever.
looks like that the guy who lost his mind on Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Minus the mustache. The mustache.
Yeah, I'm slowly starting to look more and more like Jimmy every single time we get on this podcast. So
we
mustache.
Quarantine would have been the perfect time for us to coordinate facial hair and just hair in general. Would either of you be willing to Bic razor your head?
No.
Go completely bald? No.
I live in Portland, Oregon. People would think I'm a neo-Nazi skinhead, so I probably shouldn't do that.
And I would just get sunburned because I'm outside too much.
You're already so close to bald, though. Like you're so close to there already.
1. It's like a 1.
Exactly. The zero.
But my hair grows so fast.
All right.
Yeah. No, I mean it grows like my hair grows like freaking weeds, man. It's all right.
Fair enough.
I actually have hair that grows in. Unlike some people.
Yeah, mauled ass.
That one cut deep.
I'm not saying names.
Malding.
I'm not saying names.
Malding. All right. I think this is a great time to wrap this up. I just want to give a shout out to my fellow hosts here for entertaining the conversation, for being here, for agreeing to talk about something that is very uncomfortable and to continue talking about it moving forward. Like I said, there is all so much that us as men can do moving forward to help make survivors feel like their voices are heard, to help prevent there from being more survivors than there already are, and to just doing our best to hold each other accountable, and continue to have these conversations. I think that's the most important thing. We can all have our opinions and our perspectives, and our uproars, but I think that if we can all agree to hold each other accountable and to move forward, just and if you guys, I wouldn't think of you any other way. Like I wouldn't have you on this podcast if I thought that you were thinking any other way, right? It's because I know who you are as people. And I respect your opinion, and I know that you are open to this type of stuff. So thank you both for being here. Chat, thank you for listening to our conversation. For anybody listening to the future, thank you for giving us our chance to speak. I know out of all the people that have voices that need to be heard right now, ours is kind of the least important to hear, to be honest. And so I just appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we have to say. We're trying to be better. We're trying to learn from each other, and we want to be a support pillar for you in the future. And all I can ask is that you give us a chance to. So thank you.
Okay. I like it.
On that note, who the fuck are you? Where can you find you online? And what do you have coming up?
Who's first?
Jimmy, you go first. You go first. I usually let you go first. Seniors.
Do you?
First. Yeah.
Do you? No, you don't.
Higher ranking officers first.
It's always the newbie goes first.
Really?
That's you. Yeah. So go ahead, number 2 pencil. It's on you.
All right. Number 1. All right. My name is Elliot Bishop, aka BishopGP. You can find me on Twitter at Bishop Was Here. If you want to shoot me a DM, I'll answer anything or questions or whatever. If you want to say what's up or follow me or whatever. On Sundays, I commentate the Skip Barber E-Race series. You can find that on YouTube. Just look up Skip Barber on Sundays. And then beyond that, I'll be streaming on Mixer starting June 24th. So I think that's the date.
Last little jab.
I should do like a 24-hour stream.
Dude, you have a time machine? June 24th was 4 days ago.
Oh, was it? July 24th.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
What's the date? I think it's July 24th. Okay. But I might do a 24-hour stream just to be a troll.
I like it, dude. Do 48.
Yeah,
on
I'll just
Mixer.
Stream
Your first stream on Mixer, 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then you do it again. You call it another 48 hours.
There you go.
And you make a movie out of it and make money. Yeah. Okay. My name is Jimmy, aka MiddleAgedStream. You can find me on Twitch and Instagram at MiddleAgedStream, MiddleAgedStream on Twitter. I do not currently have a summer schedule, but I'm posting when I go live on Discord and Twitter. And if you're into that, it's always either later afternoon or early evening. I'm not making a schedule because I'm on summer vacation and I'm going live 4 to 5 days a week, so I feel like I don't need to make a schedule. You'll fucking if you want to watch me, you'll find me. You'll find me.
Turn on live notifications.
You know who I am.
Forehead.
You know who I am. All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is Knackers. You guys can find me on this very Twitch channel or on Instagram and Twitter at Knackers with 3 A's. Again, we very much appreciate you being here, listening to our conversation. Thank you for being understanding. And empathetic, and we agree to be the same in reciprocation. So thank you so much. We will be back most likely in 2 weeks for the next episode. I'm trying to line up a guest for next Sunday for a 1v1. I'm just waiting for them to confirm, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, regardless, we'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 122. Again, happy 4-year anniversary of the Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. Thank you to everybody that has supported us over the years. It's been a long ride, and we're not stopping anytime soon. Thank you. We love you. And good night.
Bye-bye.
It always cuts out.
Every time. As soon as are you turning on an effect when you say goodbye?
No, I didn't turn on any effects.
It's always when you say goodbye.
Voice.
Yeah.
No, I totally turned on. That was just me.
Okay, try it again.
Try it again. It literally cuts out.
Did it cut out?
I think you're just
my voice.
I think you're just being too loud. I think your mic is like, no more Jimmy tonight.
Fuck you, man. Okay. It could be. Love you guys.
All right, love you too. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. If you would like to catch the show live, it airs on Twitch on my channel at twitch.tv/knackers at 9 p.m. every single Sunday. If you would like to check out the most recent episode of the podcast, you can probably click this little box here. And if you feel like checking out some of our highlights, you can maybe click this little box down here. And maybe I'll even put a little thing for you to click right here. No? Bye.